Chapter 550. What is at the end of the light and shadow, the other side of the starry sky? Well, it is a beautiful star that softens the changes of time and makes time stay in the old days. The oncoming wind carried the fragrance of pasture. There was no sign of human habitation in the endless grassland. Lin Luoran and others look at each other. They hold the shrunken jade stairs and don't know where they are for a while. Let's go back to an earlier time. Lin Luoran releases the 5 elements to fill the inner part of the earth. When black tortoise disappears on the surface of the earth, the 5 elements are endless and intertwined. The originally exhausted star is injected with vitality, and the turbulence caused is not trivial. Gods and Buddhas who left tens of thousands of years ago probably never thought that someone could really make up for Tao and save a star that is doomed to be annihilated in the catastrophe. Thinking of the Taoist field abandoned by them, the merits and the crisis coexist. Some gods and Buddhas have delusions, but they find that the star that has been changed by nature has disappeared. They can't contact it anymore. There is only one Taoist field left on such a big star. The merits have nothing to do with them anymore. The one worshipped by the believers turns out to be a nobody who wants to apatheicize himself. Gods and Buddhas also have resentment. When the little god breaks the world and comes, they must teach her a lesson. They still don't know that the little god is still struggling in the divinization period. Who knows what will happen in the future? In the unfettered world where gods and Buddhas and true immortals can't reach, an ordinary man in a linen robe closes the book on his knees. Soft light sneaks down from the branches, making his ordinary face more and more unreal, as if it is covered by a layer of translucent veil. Putting the book on a rock, he stretches and stands up, looking indescribably elegant and comfortable. Little girl, you are really stubborn. The man in robe smiles slightly. When he appears again, he is already in front of a treehouse. Inside the simple treehouse wrapped by vines, there is a bed of flowers that never wilts in 4 seasons. The woman with rosy cheeks sleeps in her clothes. No one knows if she has a sweet dream. The smile on her mouth is somewhat similar to that of the man in robe. The man in robe sits down by the bed and smooths the hair on the side of the young woman's temples. Momo, after playing for so long, it's time for you to go home. The way he looked at the young woman was very gentle, with a doting look for a naughty junior, and a trace of longing that he did not notice. But when he thought of the so-called covenant, the long-robed man's smile became a little awkward. When he was teaching the little girl, he repeatedly emphasized that no matter if she was a human or an immortal, or even a monster or a devil, she must not make careless promises. Therefore, he had to set an example. Since the stubborn little lass had kept her promise and completed the alliance, he had to keep his promise and give her a chance. However, when he recalled the divine sense that he had taken back more than 100 years ago, the man in robe wasn't sure if Tao Wu was still willing to abide by the agreement. In the end, he still had to go and take a look. The man in the long robe had already disappeared from the carefree world. If someone was powerful enough to spy on the realm where the man in robe resided, he would find that it was huge and boundless, but also as small as a speck of dust. It was not in the 9 levels of heaven, and unless he wanted to, there was no entrance or exit. Even if one could control the laws of heaven and earth and guard a world alone, who could escape the erosion of loneliness? On the flower bed, there was a young woman who wouldn't grow old or die. She was sleeping peacefully, so quiet that it seemed as if she would never wake up again. Bug, have you tasted it? I heard that there is a pastry shop in Xihua Alley. The smell of the pastry is so fragrant that it can kill people. The scorching sun was high in the sky, and it was a hot summer. Even beggars were reluctant to move. They gathered in 2s and 3s and gossiped. When the lice on their bodies couldn't stand the heat and crawled out, they stretched out 2 flexible fingers and pressed them to the ground. The middle-aged beggar called Bug sneered. In a few days, I'm afraid that Lord Shin will break into the capital. You still have the mood to covet a pastry shop? The greedy beggar sighed. This damn world really doesn't let people live. Bug laughed at his lack of knowledge. When Lord Shin breaks into the city, the people he wants to kill and rob are the enemies who exiled him. Whether there is a war or not, you and I are both beggars. You don't need to worry. All the beggars praised Stinky Bug for being literate. Just this knowledge alone made him unique among all the beggars in the 48 streets. 2 carriages are parked on the herbal tea stall not far away. The people in the carriages have heard enough gossip. They pay for the tea in order to set off. The wheels of the carriages rumble. Hearing that the coachman is ordered to go to the newly opened pastry shop in Xihua Alley, Bug and other beggars wait for the carriages to disappear at the corner of the street. They spit and curse at the same time. Fucking rich people. Fucking the world. Lin Luoran hears a group of beggars cursing in the carriage. She shakes her head and closes her eyes without saying a word. It took them a month to enter the capital from the border. Of course, Lin Luoran and others are not idle. When they first arrived on a strange planet, they were happy about the social form similar to ancient Wuxia. When they found the traces of cultivators, they were even more excited. They thought it would be easy to find the Lin family. However, the deeper they went, the more shocked they were. The customs and races were very similar to the ancient Wuxia planet on the Earth. Cultivators did not often appear in front of ordinary people, but their influence was everywhere. Most of the territory of this planet was controlled by a cultivation school. This time, Lord Shen led the army north, but there was another force competing for the right to speak on this planet. After Bai Qingxue learned about it, she said, "This is the real world of cultivation." The short number of words contains endless sighs. The Earth before the new era that Lin Luoran once experienced was the most peaceful period of the world of cultivation. Because of the decline of spells, no one had time to fight. However, it was different here. Cultivation schools had moved here from the Earth before the Xia and Shang dynasties. They had already gained a foothold in this world. They had divided their own spheres of influence. Because of the existence of the interstellar transmission circle, most of the big schools took planets as their territories. They stood behind the mortal regime and collected personal ability enhancement materials. It was difficult for small schools to survive, not to mention individual cultivators. Unfortunately, whether it was the Lin family or Master Mu, they had no ancestors to rely on. They were absolute grassroots individual cultivators. In such a situation, how could Lin Luoran not be worried? A group of people finally figured out that Yinshan School was behind the largest country on this star. The only interstellar transmission circle was in the forbidden area of the royal family supported by Yinshan School. Therefore, they went straight to the capital. As for who the predecessor of Yinshan School was and how strong it was still a mystery. Lin Luoran and others didn't know the situation. Their strength was uneven, so they acted in a low-key manner. Even Liao, who liked to mess around, didn't agree to break into the palace, let alone others. Seeing that the Reiki on this planet was not as abundant as expected, there should not be many high-level cultivators. However, Lin Luoran and others didn't know where the Lin family was, or where the interstellar transmission circle was connected. They unanimously decided to stay in the capital where the news was the best, and explore before taking action. "Aunt Lin, are we going to stay in the capital for a long time?" Han Weya put down the curtain and looked away. When she first came to this star, she felt that the customs of the people were very fresh. Now she was used to it and didn't feel particularly attractive. Even in the capital, the streets were wider and the houses were taller. The carriage was shaking badly, but it couldn't be compared with the vehicles of technological civilization. Lin Luoran opened her eyes when she heard the words, "When your third Uncle Mu comes back, let's gather the information first." Of course, there was more than one country in one star. Lin Luoran took several young people to the capital of Inua country, which had the largest territory, and was recently at war. Liao, Hu Ji Mutianan Baojia, Bai Qingxue, Yang Lisha and Unscented, who had enough personal ability and experience, went to different countries. Centering on the capital of Inua country, they gradually closed the net to investigate the whereabouts of the Earth cultivators, who came when the Tower of Babel opened last time. Lin Luoran occasionally saw traces of individual cultivators on the way. They were all born and raised in this star. Their personal ability was not high, so there were no clues worth paying attention to. If the Lin family had stayed on this star, they should have left some traces that could be traced. Lin Luoran was afraid that individual cultivators were in a difficult situation. The Earth cultivators who came in the end had low personal ability. If they chose to hide in the city, it would be troublesome. In addition to the pastry shop, there were many rented residences in Xihua Alley. Lin Luoran took several people to eavesdrop for a long time. Of course, she didn't go there to eat pastries. She rented a small courtyard with a forged road permit. Lin Luoran began to wander on the street, while several young people were tidying up the residence. The local customs were strict. Lin Luoran bought a gauze hat and wore it. A well-dressed single woman still attracted attention. At this time, she was certainly not in the mood to go shopping. Lin Luoran was quietly looking in the direction of the palace. There was also something in the mortal world that couldn't be easily challenged. It was the aura of the emperor. According to Bai Qingxue, Wu Mayor of the Joy School once took an unconventional approach. She wanted to steal the aura of the emperor and became the empress. After decades of management, she made a mess. She had to hand over the power to the Li Tang Empire and gave up her ridiculous idea of taking a shortcut. Yinshan School controlled this star. Other schools wanted to grab the territory, but they didn't dare to interfere with the mortals' regime. They also had to support Lord Shen, who was also a member of the royal family. It could be seen how dangerous the aura of the emperor was. Anyway, the golden light above the palace prevented Lin Luoran from seeing the details. Lin Luoran didn't know how many cultivators who served as royal ministers were in the palace. Lin Luoran was a little upset. The interstellar transmission circle happened to be in the forbidden area of the royal family. It meant that if she wanted to leave, she must alert Yinshan School. In the real world of cultivation, the law of the jungle prevailed. Most cultivators were indifferent and ruthless. They wouldn't do anything without benefits. Lin Luoran didn't want her weakness to be exposed to such a group of people first. Of course, there were other ways. Lord Shen was about to enter the capital. The competition between the two schools might be a good opportunity for her to fish in troubled waters. Lin Luoran wandered on the street until dusk. She found a well-hidden cultivator's shop. She remembered the location, and then returned to the small courtyard with satisfaction. Because she was in a good mood, she also brought back the pastries which were said to be delicious in the alley. Aunt Lin, after you went out in the afternoon, two groups of cultivators wandered around nearby. Ma Shuangshuang greeted her and took the food box carried by Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran nods. There is going to be a war. They are worried that we are sent by a hostile school. It is inevitable that they come to check. She has already reached the level of hiding her personal ability. There are no cultivators above the divinization period in this world, so it is impossible to be easily seen through. No matter how low-key she is, Rong Sini's personal ability is still shallow. It is easy to be seen through. Colin Weir and Ma Yiming follow Mu Tianan and Hu Ji respectively. Lin Luoran only has Ma Shuangshuang, Han Weiya and Rong Sini. Rong Sini is a young man who doesn't like to talk very much. He was found to have the Taoist root when he was 8 years old. It has been more than 40 years. Before he left the earth, he just laid foundation. His personal ability is relatively low. Hearing Lin Luoran's words, he knows that he has exposed himself. He feels a little guilty. Ma Shuangshuang is very like a school sister. She pats him on the shoulder. Little Sini, can you not be so sensitive? Sini is the name of a medicine. The Rong family has been running Lin's pharmaceutical factory for several generations. They have a deep relationship with traditional Chinese medicine. They named it after the traditional Chinese medicine of the Yin family. Obviously, they have high hopes for Rong Sini. Lin Luoran eats a piece of thousand-layer cake. It is really fragrant and not greasy. It is also very interesting to see Ma Shuangshuang, who used to be as timid as a little rabbit, acting like a school sister. The next day, Lin Luoran takes Ma Shuangshuang and others to the small cultivator shop she found. Seeing Ma Shuangshuang and others, the little training chi cultivator at the counter is really respectful. He doesn't dare to ignore Lin Luoran, who he can't see through. He invites them to the second floor for tea. Poor Ma Shuangshuang and Han Weiya. They can also be called senior cultivators in front of the little cultivator. However, it is the first time in their lives to visit this kind of cultivation shop. If they hadn't practiced hard during the reconstruction of the earth, they would have been exposed as soon as they entered. May I know what kind of items you seniors want to buy? Rong Sini unconsciously looks at Lin Luoran. The little cultivator is relieved. The four of them are really the female cultivator who enters the school later. Lin Luoran sighs secretly. Mu Tiannan is right. What Rong Sini lacks is not hard self-cultivation, but the experience of the world. Otherwise, it will be a little difficult for him to make a breakthrough. Bai Qingxue, who knows the world of cultivation best, is not here. Lin Luoran is also confused about many items. She has to act like a senior cultivator and ask the shop owner to take some good things out. The little cultivator in the training chi period is naturally not suitable to serve these four people. A middle-aged cultivator with a beard comes out. He is wearing a scholar's shirt, but his personal ability is only one step away from bearing essence. As a shop owner of a big school, he also has some special skills. He can see through Ma Shuang and others, but he can't see through Lin Luoran. It happens to be a sensitive time. He has decided to test these strange cultivators personally. He takes the opportunity to come out and ask people to bring the best products from the warehouse. Seniors, you look a little strange. Maybe it is the first time you come to this small shop. Let me introduce you personally. Lin Luoran nods. We have been practicing hard in a remote small country for many years. We haven't been to the Inua country for a long time. One of them thinks, oh, it turns out to be individual cultivators. Lin Luoran is also helpless. She finally reveals her origin. It's not easy for her. The middle-aged cultivator with a strong temperament of a scholar tailors clothes for Lin Luoran and others. The items he recommends to Lin Luoran and others include a dripping sword, a grade 5 flying sword, paid with low-grade spirit stones. Lin Luoran is buried in a pile of low-grade spirit stones. It is worth 18,000 spirit stones. Lin Luoran almost spits out the tea in her mouth. There are so few cultivators on this star that there is no buyer for the grade 5 flying sword. The shopkeeper seems to be a scholar, but in fact he is black-bellied and takes advantage of her. Lin Luoran doesn't nod or shake her head. The cultured shopkeeper knows that he finally takes out some practical goods. It is said to be a new work of the weapon refiner of Yinshan School. It is a budding red rose. It is a magic weapon refined for female cultivators with both appearance and practicality. When the shopkeeper demonstrates, he injects a little wacken into the rose. The petals of the rose open layer by layer. Each petal is soft and beautiful when it drifts. It looks gentle, but in fact ordinary protective shields can't protect it at all. Under the charming appearance, ordinary cultivators will be tricked if they are not careful. The fragrance of the stamen makes people's mind float. It may have other magical effects when fighting against enemies. This world is really a paradise for cultivation. Even small magic weapons are new. It is not comparable to the former declining world of cultivation on the earth. Lin Luoran thinks it is a bit interesting. Seeing that Ma Shuang likes it, she takes the jade box after the middle-aged scholar finishes his demonstration. She takes out the rose and inserts it into Ma Shuang's hair. This is good. Buy it. Lin Luoran says casually as if she is picking cabbages. The middle-aged scholar thinks to himself that a rich individual cultivator is being tricked. How can he be soft-hearted? Senior cultivator, you like it. The price is 8,980. I will charge you 8,800 for good luck. Lin Luoran is happy. It turns out that both cultivators and ordinary people do business in the same way. She has the spirit stones dug from the place where the mother lode of 5 elements was found on Nami Star. She also has half of White Fairy's hidden treasure. Lin Luoran is not short of money in the world of cultivation. However, she really doesn't have low-grade spirit stones. Seeing that she pays with top-grade spirit stones, the middle-aged scholar's smile is more sincere, making people feel like a spring breeze. Lin Luoran plays the role of a generous elder. She lets Ma Shuang choose all kinds of fine products, recommended by the shopkeeper. However, she just drinks tea on the side. The customer is the king. Although Yinshan School acts domineeringly, its service is still very considerate when it comes to business. The middle-aged scholar is well-informed and well-dressed. He talks with Lin Luoran for a while about the remote small country where she lives in seclusion and practices hard. He describes the local conditions and customs in detail. If Lin Luoran and others have not really stayed in that small country, Her casual identity will be exposed. After chatting for a while, Lin Luoran smiles and says that she and the middle-aged scholar are congenial. Unfortunately, she has plans to leave this star recently. The middle-aged scholar is even more respectful. Even if there is an interstellar transmission circle, only gathering vitality cultivators can really travel freely. Senior cultivator, you may not have heard of it. Recently, some clowns are fighting against Inshan School. I'm afraid that the transmission circle will be suspended for a while. Having said that, he must send the news back to his school that a gathering vitality individual cultivator, who is not recorded by Inshan School, has quietly appeared on this planet without abundant Reiki. Lin Luoran pretends to be unhappy. I can't go anywhere? Inshan School is too overbearing. It is normal for gathering vitality cultivators to have a temper no matter where they go. The middle-aged scholar wipes the non-existent sweat and apologizes again and again. The little cultivator helps the shopkeeper out of embarrassment. Lay Buddhist Exian sent someone to pick up the precious clothes customized a few days ago. While they are talking, a beautiful female cultivator dressed as a nun has already gone up to the second floor. The brown nun's clothes are monotonous, but they can't hide the nun's beautiful face. The ebony hair under the brim of the hat makes her face as white as snow. She doesn't have any accessories, but she has a simple and ethereal beauty. Lay Buddhist Exian sent her to run errands. She is a young junior in the laying foundation period. Shopkeeper Wu. The nun salutes. It turns out that the middle-aged scholar's surname is Wu. Shopkeeper Wu asks the little cultivator to take out the precious clothes that Lay Buddhist Exian wants. It is a white Taoist robe with silver edges. Wacken is flowing in the surface of the clothes. Lin Luoran glances at it and finds that its defense is better than the protean dress she once got. It is really a good precious clothes. After handing over the precious clothes, the nun leaves. Shopkeeper Wu suddenly claps his hands as if he suddenly remembers something. It's my negligence. Lay Buddhist Exian is the guest elder of Inshan School, but she is not restricted by the temporary ban on the transmission circle. Lay Buddhist Exian also wants to return to school recently. If senior cultivator doesn't think it's too late, you can go with Lay Buddhist Exian. Lin Luoran doesn't seem to hear it. She looks down at her fingertips for a long time before saying to Shopkeeper Wu, "Thank you." Her attitude is cold, as if the person who just condescends to talk to him is someone else. Of course, Shopkeeper Wu doesn't tell her directly that you are an outsider. At this critical moment, Inshan School is worried about you. Besides, it's not good to offend a gathering vitality cultivator. So, I specially ask a guest elder to accompany you. When Mu Tiannan and others gather in the capital one after another without any harvest, Lin Luoran remembers Shopkeeper Wu's promise again. Before she decides whether to leave this star or not, Lord Shun's army comes to the north like a hot knife through butter. They have already surrounded the capital. Lin Luoran and others gather on the city wall to watch the fun. In the thousands of troops, they see Lay Buddhist Exian mentioned by Shopkeeper Wu. Chapter 551. The capital is surrounded by Lord Shun's troops. They beat drums to attack the city. The famous generals of the Yingyue kingdom guard the four sides. Recently, the Chang people make trouble in the west. The Yingyue kingdom will be trampled by the Chang people. Only the southern garrison can help. However, it is summer and frequent floods obviously stop the southern army. The reinforcements don't arrive. That's why the capital is so isolated and helpless. Before the reinforcements from the south arrived, the only ones who could protect Royal City were the 80,000 imperial guards directly under the old emperor. It's ridiculous to say that the capital is surrounded by Lord Shun's 50,000 iron hooves. One side is desperate, while the other side wants to ensure the safety of the royal family in the city under the anger of Lord Shun. In 3 battles, the imperial army is defeated 3 times. The whole imperial city is in a panic. From the nobles to the street beggars who made sarcastic remarks a month ago, everyone is in a panic. The people's hearts are scattered. The capital may not be able to wait for the day when the reinforcements come. The old emperor probably finally makes up his mind. When Lord Shun's army attacks the city again, almost all the imperial soldiers are dispatched. Lin Luoran squeezes onto the city wall in such a situation. War is always cruel regardless of time and space. It doesn't become gentler because of the era of cold weapons. The soldiers who were stabbed to death while climbing the ladders had holes all over their bodies. The soldiers who were chopped in half at the waist when the cavalry clashed with each other. The vast expanse of yellow soil under the high city walls was now covered in broken limbs, and the soil was dyed a reddish-brown. The piles of corpses occasionally stumble the hooves of horses. There are screams and noises, and the dull sound of swords cutting into bodies. Lin Luoran suddenly sees Xian Yuanping in such a situation. On the front line of the desolate and bloody battlefield, a beautiful Taoist nun wearing a white Taoist robe and holding a black lotus in her hand walked on the battlefield in a rather pitiful manner. She didn't care about the blood staining her white satin-embroidered shoes. If the black lotus is not so familiar to Lin Luoran, she will not believe that the nun is actually the female devil Xian Yuanping. Lin Luoran hasn't seen Xian Yuanping for hundreds of years since she broke her wrist in the Dragon Palace and was rescued by the old Taoist Huizhu. However, this woman has brought her unforgettable memories. Lin Luoran remembers Xian Yuanping's appearance very clearly. That summer, on the eve of the heavy rain, the woman in black suddenly appeared in front of Villa number 18 of Qingqing Villa. Xian Yuanping is exactly the charming woman who looks at people with misty eyes. At first glance, it was easy to let down one's guard. One wouldn't be disgusted by her natural seductiveness, but underneath her charm was a deep-seated hostility. Xian Yuanping is definitely a she-devil who uses living people to make elixirs. Now Xian Yuanping looks at the battlefield peacefully. Lin Luoran is almost fooled by her compassionate eyes. If the black lotus in her hand doesn't absorb the air of blood as she walks, Lin Luoran will be more willing to believe that Xian Yuanping has turned over a new leaf. Lin suddenly realizes that Xian Yuanping may be the lay Buddhist Xian, mentioned by shopkeeper Wu. This evil woman used an unknown method to hide her evil energy, but she couldn't hide her cultivation. She wasn't even at the mid-nascent soul stage. It has been more than 400 years. According to the progress of diabolism, Xian Yuanping's personal ability is a little weak. When she was at her peak, even Lin Luoran had to avoid her. Is it because she destroyed all the seeds of the Black Lotus in the Hall of Nothingness in the Dragon Palace? So Xian Yuanping's personal ability is not the same as a normal diabolism cultivator? Seeing Lin Luoran staring at the Taoist nun who is casting the invisibility spell on the battlefield, Mu Tianren looks at her. He is not afraid of Xian Yuanping's strength, but her personal ability enhancement method is a little weird. It's strange. She looks like a devil but not a devil. It seems that her evil energy has been forcibly concealed. She looks a little familiar. Lin Luoran nods. 3 people have passed the Chaos Spirit Spring. Except for you and me, she is the other one. Mu Tianren can't hide his surprise. Is it Xian Yuanping? Lin Luoran looks at him suspiciously. When Xian Yuanping stirred up trouble, Mu Tianren was still an ordinary person. She doesn't expect that he knows her. Mu Tianren smiles embarrassedly. When I was a child, she seemed to have hugged me. Grandpa Mu and Grandpa Guo were close. When Mu Tianren was a child, Xian Yuanping was still a student of Grandpa Guo. It is reasonable for Xian Yuanping to hug her friend's child. Later, Xian Yuanping found out the truth and betrayed her teacher. Mu Tianren can only vaguely remember her when she was a child. Mu Tianren can remember her so clearly. Even after hundreds of years, he can still recognize her when her temperament has changed. Of course, it is because Mu Tianren found out the truth when Lin Luoran was missing in Jinling for 3 years. At that time, Grandpa Mu was caught between Grandpa Guo and Huizhu. Mu Tianren was searching for Lin Luoran. Grandpa Mu couldn't stop him, so he told Mu Tianren the reason. Xian Yuanping is not only the daughter of Taoist Huizhu, but also the only apprentice of Grandpa Guo. Mu Tianren is overwhelmed by these 2 identities. He can't find Xian Yuanping's whereabouts. Even if he finds her, there is nothing he can do. The only thing he can do is to hire foreign mercenaries to search Jinling over and over again, hoping to find Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran is half happy and half worried to see Xian Yuanping. No matter how much she hates Xian Yuanping, at least Xian Yuanping's existence proves that the cultivators who left the earth through the Tower of Babel, after the shelter of gods, have really arrived in this world. It's just that everyone's fate is different. Xian Yuanping becomes a visiting professor of Yinshan School, with the personal ability of the Gathering Vitality period. However, she doesn't know where the Lin family and her old friends in the world of cultivation are. If we catch her, Mu Tiannan immediately understands. Since they were sent to this world together, Xian Yuanping should have heard about the whereabouts of others more or less. Lin Luoran shakes her head. Let's not talk about whether everyone arrived on the same star at that time. Xian Yuanping hates me very much. I'm afraid she will only deliberately give false information to confuse the public. Lin Luoran thinks in her heart. What's more, if Xian Yuanping is involved with Yinshan School, it will be fine if she gives false information. However, she deliberately sets a trap for everyone, and several young people with low personal ability. Lin Luoran has to take care of her family. She can't afford to waste time with the evil woman. Mu Tiannan doesn't say much. In fact, there are some bloody means to make a Gathering Vitality cultivator tell the truth. However, Mu Tiannan also knows that Lin Luoran is kind by nature. She rarely takes the initiative to kill people. After the two disappear on the city wall, Xian Yuanping seems to sense something. She stops and looks in the direction of the city wall. There is a lot of noise and chaos on the city wall. There is nothing unusual. Is it just her perception that she is being peeped at? Xian Yuanping is puzzled. She is not interested in collecting the blood on the battlefield. She enters the city with the Black Lotus in her hand, and goes to the small shop of Yinshan School in a hidden place. Lay Buddhist Xian, you finally come. The smile on shopkeeper Wu's face is not fake at all. Lord Shen is besieging the city. Yinshan School cultivators in the Imperial City have discussed it several times. The school's message is to close the transmission circle, but they don't say that they will use force to deal with the force behind Lord Shen. What the cultivators worry about is that Yinshan School will really give up this star if they don't do anything. This gentle reaction is quite different from the school's usual behavior. These disciples are far away from the core of the school. It is reasonable for them to worry about whether the school will change in the near future. The Tiankue star is not a fertile land for cultivation. There are many planets with abundant Reiki in this world. Yinshan School doesn't care much about the production of the Tiankue star. They send disciples here to select talents with good qualifications to provide fresh blood for the school. Therefore, among these cultivators, the highest personal ability is only in the early stage of gathering vitality. In terms of strength, Xian Yuanping is the most respected guest. Seeing that Xian Yuanping comes, cultivators in the addendum all greet her. The old man who has just born vitality is not very enthusiastic. He has been resting with his eyes closed. After Xian Yuanping sits down, he greets her. Xian Yuanping sneers. The old man surnamed Cheng succeeded in bearing vitality half a year ago. Gathering vitality cultivators are also very popular in big schools like Yinshan School. He knows that the school will not let him continue to waste time on the half-deserted Tiankue star. Therefore, he changes his previous attitude of being arrogant to her and deliberately flattering her. He also acts like a gathering vitality cultivator. Living in this world for hundreds of years, Xian Yuanping has seen many similar faces. She secretly scolds him for being reckless. However, her face is still gentle without showing any thoughts. Elder Feng sent a message that another big school is also interested in the Tiankue star. At this time, you still haven't received the order to take action. It should be that our school has reached an agreement with that big school. They are ready to give up the Tiankue star. Xian Yuanping elegantly picks up the teacup. She only slightly wets her lips with the tea. She casually reveals a big secret. Not only does it shock all the cultivators present, but the Gathering Vitality cultivator surnamed Cheng also has mixed feelings in his heart. He has been managing this star for the school for many years, and he advanced to the Gathering Vitality period half a year ago. However, he actually knows nothing about this news. Is the school's trust in him less than that of a visiting minister? The cultivator surnamed Cheng frowns. I haven't received the order to evacuate. However, Xian Yuanping turns her head aside. Shopkeeper Wu, what is the background of the gathering vitality individual cultivator you mentioned the other day? The old man surnamed Cheng is embarrassed. He has some resentment towards Xian Yuanping. However, his personal ability is not as good as hers, so he has to bear it. How can shopkeeper Wu describe her? He has only seen her once. When Lin Luoran entered the shop, she changed into an ordinary face. At this moment he wants to describe her, but he is short of words. As for Ma Shuangshuang and the other two, they each have their own characteristics. Xian Yuanping has no impression of any of them. Later, Mu Tiannan and others gathered in the capital one after another. With their personal ability, how can they alert the spies of Yinshan School? A very strange gathering vitality individual cultivator. Is it her who is secretly peeping on the city wall? Xian Yuanping doesn't get any useful information. There is an uncontrollable power lurking around her. She always feels that it is an unknown threat. She ignores a group of Yinshan School disciples who are looking at her eagerly. She only reminds shopkeeper Wu, whom she usually deals with, that she should close the shop as soon as possible and be ready to give up the Tiankue star at any time. Shopkeeper Wu glances at the old man surnamed Chen cautiously and changes the topic to the figures consigned by Xian Yuanping. Recently, the situation in the Tiankue star is unclear. Individual cultivators are generous in order to protect themselves. The figures sent by lay Buddhist Xian are selling very well. Do you want to pay the spirit stones on the account? Xian Yuanping nods non-committally. The figures she gives to shopkeeper Wu are just ordinary paper figures. She draws a few in her spare time just to make her life in the Tiankue star less boring. Xian Yuanping doesn't care about the spirit stones at all. After receiving the spirit stones, Xian Yuanping leaves directly, ignoring the ugly face of the old man surnamed Cheng after she goes out. The place where Xian Yuanping lives is a large nunnery with green tiles and red bricks in the forest designated as a forbidden area by the royal family. The interstellar transmission circle is only 1 mountain away from the nunnery. Grandmaster. A few beautiful nuns come up and smile at Xian Yuanping. Xian Yuanping nods. Is your little school sister back? The little nun shakes her head. The little school sister's personal ability is not high, but she is born charming. She is selected by the grandmaster from the slave market. After teaching her for a few years, she is sent to the palace to be the favorite concubine of the old emperor. Lord Shen, who is now besieged by the little school sister, was suppressed badly by the little school sister. He was the most promising prince to inherit the throne, but he was exiled thousands of miles away and forced to rebel against his father. Although the little nun can't figure out why the grandmaster has such a high personal ability, she still replies very respectfully. Half a month ago, the little school sister came to offer incense. If she comes out again now, it will be a little eye-catching. Xian Yuanping chuckles. Now the country is about to fall. As an imperial concubine, isn't it the best reason to enter the nunnery to pray? The little nun nods and goes to arrange it. Sure enough, at dusk, the honor guard of the imperial concubine of Yingyue Kingdom goes out of the palace gate and comes to the nunnery in a mighty way. After pretending to offer incense and pray for blessings, the imperial concubine says that she wants to take a bath and fast. All her attendants stay in the courtyard where the nunnery entertains guests. She goes to the winding backyard alone. If Lin Luoran is here, she will be a little surprised. The imperial concubine dresses luxuriously. Her charm is like the essence of Xian Yuanping's charm in the past. No wonder the old emperor of Yingyue Kingdom can be fascinated by her. After Xian Yuanping puts down the silver wolf pen in her hand to draw figures, the imperial concubine dispels her usual arrogance in front of the palace people. She calls her grandmaster affectionately. Xian Yuanping also pays more attention to her than in the past. She asks a few questions about her daily life. Just when the imperial concubine is delighted by the grandmaster's attention, Xian Yuanping changes the topic. Yinshan School is about to give up the Tiankue star. Your school uncle also sent a message. I will leave with your school sisters in a few days. The imperial concubine is happy. Grandmaster, don't I have to go back to the palace? As a young woman born and raised here, she obeys her grandmaster's order to serve an old man for 10 years. The imperial concubine's personal ability is low. What she has done in the past 10 years is enough for Lord Shen to kill her 100 times after he breaks the city. No matter how good the power in the world is, she must be alive to enjoy it. Besides, being a cultivator with profound cultivation like her master, who was above the imperial power of the mortal world, was much better than being trapped in the palace and being an imperial noble consort. In the past, she has heard her school sisters describe the real wonderful world of cultivation outside the Tiankue star. How can the imperial concubine not yearn for it? Unexpectedly, Xian Yuanping smiles meaningfully when she hears her question. Your school sisters want to leave with me, but you want to stay. Not only that, when the new dynasty changes, you still have to be an imperial concubine. The imperial concubine kneels down and cries, Grandmaster, what did I do wrong? Why do all school sisters leave, and only she is left in the Tiankue star? The new dynasty changes and Lord Shen ascends the throne. How can she continue to be an imperial concubine? Xian Yuanping personally wipes away her tears. Silly girl, there are precedents in the Inua country for the son to marry after the father dies. You have to be good at making use of your strengths. I really have something important to do. I can't take care of the Tiankue star in a short time. Among many apprentices, only you are the most suitable to do this for me. Xian Yuanping carefully tells the imperial concubine, who is stunned. Compared with Xian Yuanping's age, the imperial concubine, as a native of the Inua country, mingles in the palace with her natural charm and some cultivators' means. She is very good at charming people, but when it comes to playing power, she is not good at scheming. The interstellar transmission circle is near the palace. No matter which school takes over the Tiankue star, they can't bypass the royal family of the Inua country. Although Xian Yuanping plans to leave the Tiankue star, she does not intend to give up her power completely. If cultivators are involved, the school taking over will definitely be worried. Even if the concubine has some means, how can the superior cultivators care about it? A few years ago, the world of cultivation was turbulent. Prophet God School, who is good at deduction, said something. Xian Yuanping estimated that only outsiders who came through the Tower of Babel could understand it. The Tiankue star is changing. Humph, it is nothing more than that someone will be transmitted from the earth to this world. Xian Yuanping has an intuition that the Prophet God School's prophecy is related to a woman she hates most in her life. She must be the first to get the news of the other party without anyone noticing. How to take action under so many people's eyes is very challenging. However, Xian Yuanping likes challenging difficult things. For 100 years, if that woman is still alive, she should at least gather vitality. However, the personal ability of the two is not too different. After all, the Reiki on the earth is too rich. No matter how talented she is, Xian Yuanping smiles without saying a word. In the small courtyard of Shihua Alley, Liao picks his ears and stops the holy spell. How is it, Uncle Liao? Lin Luoran is a little anxious. She hopes that the holy spell clairaudience in Liao's mouth is really useful. The name is quite cool. However, Liao is so unreliable that people can't help but doubt his ability to do things. Liao guesses Lin Luoran's mind, and he is not happy. He really wants to grab the idiot's shoulder and shake her neck hard. The master of the blue waves is obviously very reliable. In the past, he lost his memory and had no personal ability. Being obscene was just a disguise. Alas! When Lin Luoran serves him tea flatteringly, the unhappiness in Liao's heart immediately disappears. His old face is full of smiles. Hu Ji secretly despises the immoral Siscon Liao. The latter doesn't care about it at all, and shows off the news he heard. He tells the story from Xian Yuanping leaving the battlefield to go to the shop of Inshan School to the female apprentice who became the imperial concubine in the Inua kingdom. Liao summarizes several points. First, Xian Yuanping is only a visiting professor of Inshan School, but she has a very close relationship with this school. She gets the news earlier than other apprentices of the school that Inshan School is going to evacuate the Tiankue star. Second, Xian Yuanping hides her personal ability very well. She lives in seclusion. Others only think that she is good at drawing figures. In addition, she mentions school uncle to her apprentice in the painting, which shows that she has a school in this world instead of an individual cultivator. Third, Xian Yuanping temporarily leaves the Tiankui star for some irresistible reasons. However, she doesn't forget to arrange people in the mortal world. Obviously, she is obsessed with the Tiankui star. She is not determined to get something here. Of course, there is only someone who is determined to get it. Xian Yuanping is good at drawing figures now, and she has a fellow school. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan look at each other. They have the same guess in their hearts. The evil woman used to only make living people into elixirs. Drawing figures must be taught by Huizhu. Are her fellow school Taoists who used to hide from the world in Qingqing Taoist Temple? Everyone in Yinshan school has never heard of it. They put it aside for the moment. What is Xian Yuanping looking for in the semi-abandoned Tiankui star? Let me make a bold guess. She is waiting to kill you. Hey, has someone noticed that we were teleported from the earth to the mortal world? Most of the time, unscented girl is silent. Occasionally, she speaks. She really hits the nail on the head. So we just need. Han Weiya murmurs to herself, dragging the tone. Everyone says in unison, follow Xian Yuanping. It is still unknown whether they can find the Lin family if they follow Xian Yuanping. Most likely they will find the people of Qingqing Taoist Temple first. Chapter 552. Sure enough, the rebellious Lord Shen breaks through the city gate before the southern reinforcements come from the capital. Lord Shen kills people in the capital in the name of purging the emperor. In the end, he doesn't cut off the beautiful head on the slender neck of the evil concubine. Instead, he kills the old emperor who looks like him. The evil concubine is right. How can a woman drive a real solid father-son relationship apart? The new emperor will soon ascend the throne. The crime of killing the emperor and his father has to be cleared. The country is most chaotic when the throne is replaced. Xian Yuanping and the disciples of Yinshan school choose to leave at this time. None of them were familiar with the galaxy teleportation portal. In Liao's words, when personal ability reaches a certain level, crossing the void is really nothing. No one needs to use the transmission circle. As an alien, Colin can drive a starship well. He can rely on a certain magic circle for interstellar transmission. It is really amazing. It can beat the aviation technology of the big universe era. The subtext is that don't count on an alien. This is not scientific. Huji looks at the sky. I am a native of the earth. Mu Tiannan and others all agree. Earthlings are not shameful. Whether they are human beings or monsters, they are all earthlings. They all look at the sky and don't explain. Lin Luoran can use the listening spell, similar to his mind connection. However, she can't be sure that others are thinking about the interstellar transmission circle. Low-rank cultivators are not necessarily clear. With personal ability like Xian Yuanping, her six senses are already very sensitive. It is easy to expose herself. Lin Luoran pokes Liao's arm. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is often associated with clairvoyance. God bless Liao. He must also know the latter. Liao is about to go crazy. He doesn't even need to think with his toes. There can't be any mistake in the interstellar transmission circle. Does she want him to peep at Xian Yuanping's movements and then imitate her? The interstellar transmission circle is guarded by cultivators of Yinshan school. In the eyes of mortals, it is a pile of rubble. Of course, that is just the appearance. Liao is silently threatened by Lin Luoran. Clairvoyance is useless. He simply zooms Xian Yuanping's movements like watching a 3D movie and enlarges it in front of everyone. Xian Yuanping takes out 9 high-quality spirit stones and puts them in the corresponding stone troughs. Lin holds her breath and keeps in mind the order and time difference of Xian Yuanping's spirit stones. She tries to make a copy later without any mistakes. The spirit stone in the stone trough is activated, and the real transmission circle appears. There are dozens of people around Xian Yuanping, 6 in a group. The cultivators quickly step into the light curtain and disappear. It seemed that only 6 people could be teleported at a time. Lin Luoran divides the people on her side into a group so that they can watch over each other and help each other during interstellar transmission. After all, no one knew what was guarding the other end of the transmission array. Including herself, there were 13 of them, which meant that one of them had to take turns. Huji raised his hand and mouthed that he would take the turn. Everything is settled. The number of cultivators waiting for teleportation is getting smaller and smaller. Xi and Yuanping is also quietly waiting for the boring teleportation. Everyone is a little relaxed. Something strange happens at this moment. Xi and Yuanping suddenly changes the position of the spirit stones at a very fast speed. Then she disappears in the transmission circle with her 5 disciples. Oh no. Xi and Yuanping must have noticed something. Lin Luoran makes a prompt decision to show up. The old man surnamed Chung of Yinshan School has put the spirit stones back. Seeing a large group of people suddenly appear nearby, and he can't figure out their strength, his first thought is that the force that takes over the Tiankui star is not willing to let them go? He runs into the transmission circle with a gloomy face and disappears together with the last few people of Yinshan School. The 9 good spirit stones placed in the stone trough by Xi and Yuanping also run out of energy and turn into dust. This is the result of overestimating one's strength. Lin Luoran regrets so much that everyone has nothing to say. In their group, there are 7 people with the personal ability of gathering vitality. After figuring out the semi-abandoned state of the Tiankui star, they are unconsciously arrogant. Even if Lin Luoran meets her old enemy, Xi and Yuanping, she doesn't feel any pressure. Xi and Yuanping has been in the world of cultivation for hundreds of years, but she has made great progress. She doesn't expect to fail miserably. What should we do now? They obviously went to 2 different places. Baojia has a bad temper. After being fooled, she is obviously angry. Young Lisha blinks. Her apple-like face is so round that people want to take a bite. Let's divide into 2 groups. Dividing people into 2 groups, one group will follow Yinshan School, and the other group will follow Xi and Yuanping. This method is the most effective. No matter what the relationship between Yinshan School, Xi and Yuanping, and the former cultivators from the earth, they can take care of both. But the biggest problem now is, this world is not small. Where are we going to reunite? Lin Luoran is looking for people now. She doesn't want to lose the people she brought here before she finds the Lin family. Liao thinks for a while. Even if cultivation is popular and there are many stars, cultivators always need to exchange experiences and exchange materials. There must be such a star which is the largest, most famous star in the world of cultivation where there are many schools. Let's divide into 2 groups for 5 years. Whether we can find them or not, we will go to the main star to reunite. Is it feasible? Oh, it's more complicated than the previous grouping. Young Lisha looks around and then claps her hands. Anyway, I know the Lin family and many cultivators from the previous batch. Can't I lead the team separately from you? Young Lisha does know the Lin family and the crazy Taoist. Well, she also took over Xi and Yuanping's broken palm. As for the new generation of the world of cultivation on the earth, they all showed up in front of Young Lisha when they went to Babylon through the Tower of Babel last time. Thank you. Young Lisha has no obligation to help find people. Lin Luoran's gratitude is very sincere. It's my pleasure. Young Lisha doesn't say anything and Cool Voidy answers. Lin Luoran helps her and Young Lisha transform again. Monsters are not heartless. 5 years is very short for them. In the end, it is decided that Ma Shuangshuang, Han Weiya, Huji and 2 female monsters will go to the planet where Yinshan School went to search. Lin Luoran and the rest of the people will go to chase Xi and Yuanping. No matter what the result is in 5 years, we have to go to the largest main star of this world to reunite. Everyone nods solemnly. The siblings of the Ma family, Han Weiya and Huji, who looks back every few steps, have disappeared in the transmission circle. Liao has an excellent memory. He is very dissatisfied with Xi and Yuanping's tricks. He changes the order and position of the spirit stones and leaves first with Bai Qingxue, Baojia, Colin and Rongxini. Mu Tiannan insists on going with Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran is also very helpless. It's our turn. Lin Luoran has no experience in using the interstellar transmission circle. She can't calculate the energy of the spirit stones in advance like Xian Yuanping. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan are worried that the energy will not be enough on the way. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan have to wait for a long time. After the light curtain of the transmission circle darkens again, Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan change the spirit stones before they enter the circle. Maybe it is true that God disposes. When Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan are halfway through the transmission circle, a stone trough where spirit stones are placed trembles slightly inexplicably. Before they know it, their destination has been changed. After several twists and turns, lay Buddhist Xian has successfully arrived at her destination. She takes a deep breath of the familiar air and wonders with interest. Among the sneaky people behind her, who is the one who is tricked in the end? After arriving at the strange planet, Liao and others have waited for a long time, but they still don't see Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan. Their faces all change. What went wrong? In the transmission circle of the Tiankui star, several swordsmen with good personal ability have just stepped out of the light curtain. One of them checks the stone trough and says angrily, "School fellow apprentice, people of Yinshan school dare to play tricks." The young swordsman called school fellow apprentice checks it and frowns slightly. After all, the Tiankui star is remote. It is possible that the transmission circle has not been repaired for a long time. There is no need to stick to trifles. You guys check the transmission circle and get ready to welcome the Lord. Swordsmen are busy according to his words. Although they don't understand why their young lord is interested in the remote Tiankui star and wants to occupy this star at the cost of becoming enemies with Yinshan school, no one questions the lord's decision because of their obedience nature. Cultivators with swords are transmitted to the Tiankui star one after another. The sky gradually lowers, and their lord finally appears in the transmission circle. He is wearing a luxurious dust-proof coat. He is the only one without a sword, but his temperament is better than any flying sword carried by other swordsmen. Find her. A picture scroll flies up from his hand and slowly unfolds in the air. The woman's appearance is not stunning in the world of cultivation where female cultivators compete for beauty. However, her temperament is very vivid. Everyone has no evil thoughts. They remember the person in the painting, and then fly to all directions of the Tiankui star on their swords. The Lord puts away the picture scroll, and his eyes are bright. When the evening wind in the mountains blows up his sleeves, a red flame embroidered on the sleeve hem looks vivid and unique. The tearing force of the interstellar transmission circle makes Lin Luoran a little dizzy. However, when Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan stand firm and look outside the magic circle where there is no one, they quickly realize that something is wrong with the transmission. Lin Luoran smiles bitterly. Whether it is Xian Yuanping's trick or an accident beyond human control, the former can make people doubt their own intelligence, while the latter can be attributed to luck. Neither is a happy answer. Since we are here, let's take it easy. We can't stay in the circle all the time. Mu Tiannan comforts her and Lin Luoran nods. After they step out of the transmission circle, they look back at the place where they came from. They find that there is no messy stone trough in the place where the interstellar transmission circle was supposed to be. There is only yellow sand all over the ground. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan finally feel a faint pain in their temples. Is it because she has used up all her luck after losing the sacred pearl space? If the interstellar transmission circle to this star is a one-way trip, Lin Luoran would like to write the word thunder in person and summon a purple thunder to give herself a hard blow. Mu Tiannan pretends to be relaxed and jokes, "One-way transmission is not bad. Other people will not disturb us." Lin Luoran glares at him and angrily casts the wind-riding spell to fly high into the sky. Mu Tiannan laughs and tiptoes gently. Without using any arts of nature, he also flies high into the sky with his physical strength. As soon as they open their eyes, they can find that the desert where they are teleported is an isolated island surrounded by water. The sea is surging. No matter where they look, there is only steaming mist in the distance that interferes with people's vision. They can't see where the land is. Okay, now we have two choices. One is to stay in place and wait for the next batch of fools to be teleported to this star. The other is to try to fly across the boundless ocean and find the land to explore the situation of other transmission circles. The former may not be fools until we ascend to the spiritual world. The latter, the worst result is that we will become the imitator of Magellan, who proves that the planet is round and where to start from. Which one do you choose? 2 people wait in the desert to ascend to the spiritual world? If it weren't for the fact that they have to find their families, Mu Tiannan would definitely agree with the first proposal. So does he still have a choice? Why do I remember that the person who sailed the earth successfully was Columbus? Mu Tiannan seems to be trying to recall the world history knowledge he learned in middle school. Lin Luoran is speechless. However, when they are flying over the sea, she is still wondering whether the history question she memorized was Magellan or Columbus. Hey, this is really the knowledge from hundreds of years ago. As a great cultivator in the divinization period, whoever dares to test her with such questions will be killed on the beach. Although the windriding spell is a bit slow, with her current personal ability, she should be able to compete with Goldie in the past, right? In the past, she sat on Goldie's back and traveled thousands of miles from Jinling to the center of Chuan province. It took her less time than a direct flight. However, she and Mu Tiannan have been flying on the sea for more than 10 days before they see the land they yearn for day and night. When she feels a little tired, Lin Luoran uses the bone boat instead of flying. However, there is always movement in the deep sea. The undercurrent is surging. It seems that some creatures are about to break through the shackles and swim up. In order to avoid trouble, she and Mu Tiannan rarely rest. Counting the distance they have flown, this planet is at least 10 times larger than the Earth. If she doesn't see people as soon as they land, she will think that they have really traveled around the planet and returned to the isolated island where the one-way transmission circle is located. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan notice that something is wrong when they appear at the port. The locals with goods on their heads all look at them strangely. The chocolate skin, the gorgeous facial features of the women, the colorful dresses, the glittering jewelry on their wrists and necks, and the strong smell of spices. Mu Tiannan, are we in India? Lin Luoran and brother Mu see a lot of Hinduism. At this time, Lin Luoran feels a subtle embarrassment in her heart. Mu Tiannan shakes his head. Black Tortoise said that there are many civilizations in this world. It is not a lie. The world of cultivation on the earth is flourishing. There is no reason that there is no Buddhism in this world. Near the port, there is an extremely conspicuous temple with a golden roof. There is no doubt that it is similar to Indian architecture. A bold local rushes up to them and talks. Lin Luoran can only smell a strong smell of curry in his words. As for what he is saying, she doesn't understand it at all. Mu Tiannan is good at communicating with people. He guesses that they are asking where they are from. These people obviously have no personal ability, and they don't seem to be afraid of cultivators. However, when Mu Tiannan gestures to explain that they are coming from across the sea, they flee in panic. People say the same syllable words, and they don't even have time to take the goods away. The previously noisy port is gone in a short while. If Lin Luoran's spiritual mind can see the scene of the locals running back to the buildings to hide, she would really think that they have found a dead city at first. Mu Tiannan flies up like a big eagle. How can the low courtyard wall stop a big monster? Being stared at by his red eyes, Mu Tiannan's expression becomes dull. In just 2 minutes, Mu Tiannan lets go of him and disappears with Lin Luoran. After a long time, someone goes out to check. After confirming that the two are really gone, the port slowly returns to normal. However, in the next few months, the atmosphere of this seaside city is very depressing. People on this planet believe in Buddhism. The local people think that the land under their feet is the pure land on earth, while the place across the sea is the evil land recorded in the Buddhist classics. Mu Tiannan smiles bitterly. Of course, we become evil people who escape from the evil land. I guess the news will soon spread to the Buddhism school on this planet. By the way, although this planet is big, there are only 2 lands. The evil land where we came from, and the pure land where we are now. What about countries and religions? Unfortunately, there is only one country, Hassa. Of course, there is only one religion, which is dedicated to Hasami Buddha. Lin Luoran frowns. I have never heard of it. In the early years, she studied some Buddhist classics in order to invite the Buddhism school to come out. In the era of Buddha, there was a king in Magadha called King Binhasara. He and Queen Vetahai both converted to Buddha and believed in Buddhism. They were the original protectors of Buddhism. In their later years, the story of the king and his wife being imprisoned by Prince Ajashi became the origin of the Pure Land Dharma in Elysium. Mu Tiannan doesn't feel relieved after hearing this. Although he doesn't know the connection between the two, he always has a bad intuition. He feels that Hasami Buddha is like the Wilkung of Wuxia before the new era, which is not the right way. Lin Luoran feels a little powerless. So what is going on now? People like them who happen to pass by become evil people in Hasami Buddha. In a fanatical religious country, being a heretic doesn't end well. I have a bad feeling. I guess, the two of them say at the same time. Mu Tiannan smiles, you first. Lin Luoran touches her nose. Don't all fantasy novels like this? If the entrance and the exit are in different places, the exit must be in the nest of the big boss. Mu Tiannan's eyes brighten. After living together for 100 years, they finally have some tacit understanding. I just read the memory of the local people. The birthday of Hasami Buddha is next month. Devout believers usually set out more than half a year ago. They have to kneel and worship all the way to the temple where the golden body of Hasami Buddha is. Lin Luoran is thinking, we don't need to go to the mountain to see me first. Should we go to the mountain in person? Mu Tiannan smiles but says nothing. He and Lin Luoran are inexplicably accused of being the evil Rakshasa, who eats human flesh and blood in Buddhism. They have to go and see what the real Buddha in the Pure Land of Hasa looks like. Chapter 553. Hasa Country. In fact, if the word Hasa is reversed and transliterated into Saha in Sanskrit, it is really the world of Sakyamuni Buddhism that people on the earth are familiar with. From the perspective of space, the universe has no boundaries. From the perspective of time, the universe has no beginning and no end. The Buddha turns a small world illuminated by the sun and the moon into a small world. In layman's terms, it is a planetary system, such as the solar system where the Earth is located. 1,000 small worlds form a mini-kiliacosm, which is a solar system such as the Milky Way. The mini-kiliacosm forms a medium kiliacosm, and 1,000 medium kiliacosm forms a boundless world. The universe is composed of countless boundless worlds. They circulate endlessly in the process of creation, destruction, and emptiness. There is no real sense of stillness. In the past, present, and future of the boundless world, Buddhas are born all the time, shouldering the responsibility of educating all living beings. According to Buddhism, the boundless world, where the earth is located, is called Saha world, and its master is Sakyamuni Buddha. Saha means endurance. It means that all living beings in this world are sinful and must endure all kinds of troubles and sufferings. Therefore, Saha world can also be translated as Earth of Tolerance. It is also called World of Five Turbid. It is the opposite of Pure Land of Western Nirvana, taught by Amitabha. It is easy to produce all kinds of sins here. The above Buddhist description of the universe is also perfect in Lin Luoran's eyes. Her personal experience proves that there are several boundless worlds in the universe, which are quite similar to the world in the cognition of cultivators. Lin Luoran is bored along the way, so she tells Mu Tiannan some general knowledge of Buddhism. The planet they arrive at is very strange. The Saha world is reversed and it is called Hasa. It is not Sakyamuni Buddha, but a Hasami Buddha that has never been heard of. The Pure Land of Western Nirvana is also involved. It is hard for Lin Luoran not to be suspicious of such a messy doctrine. Moreover, if the deviation of interstellar transmission is intentional by lay Buddhist Xian, she probably won't be so kind to send the people who follow her to a planet with Buddha's mercy. The Golden Temple of Hasami Buddha is not in the capital, but in the source of the Luoya River running through the territory of Hasa. It is a Buddha city with a high and dangerous terrain. The Buddha city is named Ramoy. The mountains are steep, and the whole city is built on the yellow-brown mountain wall. It is covered by clouds all year round. Hasa has plenty of sunshine, which reflects the yellow-brown rock formation. Looking at Ramoi from afar, it is really a golden city under the sky. The Wuxia River, which runs through the entire Hassa country, and is known as the River of Life, originates from the Ramoi Mountains. Devout people not only have to kneel and kowtow to this city, but also want to kowtow to the golden statue of Hasami Buddha at the highest point of the mountains. The mountain road is more difficult than the Shudao in ancient Wuxia. Because the birthday of Hasami Buddha is approaching, many people go to Ramoi. His thick calluses could be seen at a glance. His face was full of hardships, and it was clear that he had been through many hardships. The rich wear beautiful silk and shoes made of fine silk. They ride luxuriously decorated ox carts with golden bells hanging on the horns of the ox carts. The ox carts are covered with flowers. They are luxurious all the way. It is more like an outing than an offering to Buddha. Along the way, Lin Luoran sees that there are no rich people. Hassa is actually rich, but the property is in the hands of big landlords. Civilians are extremely poor. The highest requirement of slaves is not to starve to death. The strangest thing was that many young girls, who were obviously born in poverty, were wearing silk and satin that they would never have the chance to come into contact with on a normal day. They were wearing luxurious gems, and surrounded by flowers and spices. They were sitting upright on the ox carts, looking straight ahead. Believers look at them with envy and respect. Soon Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan know that they are the fairies selected from all over the country to be offered to Hasami Buddha. At first, Mu Tianan laughs that extreme poverty is the fertile soil for faith. He doesn't know if Hasami Buddha does it on purpose. As soon as they hear that beautiful girls will be offered to Hasami Buddha, he and Lin Luoran are speechless. Although Lin Luoran also cultivates the power of faith, she can't find any words to refute Mu Tianan's words. Take her experience as an example. At the beginning, she apatheticized herself in Dongting. If she follows the usual pattern, she may have to do good deeds for 1,000 years to gradually increase the number of believers. However, because of the catastrophe of the earth, she only stayed for 100 years during the reconstruction. She appeared in the crisis, and the growth of believers was exponential. The more difficult life is, the more likely people with weak willpower are to pin the hope of changing their lives on Buddha. However, Buddhism advocates believers to endure the suffering of this life and do good deeds in order to achieve good results in the next life. Even Lin Luoran doesn't know whether people have an afterlife or not. Although she apatheticized herself and also cultivates the power of faith, she has always believed that compared with the illusory afterlife, she should work hard to improve her life in this life rather than be satisfied with the status quo in this life and hope to have a better life in the next life. In a word, she is against most Buddhist cultivators in the world. Even if Hasami Buddha is the orthodox Buddhism, it probably doesn't like her. Buddha advises believers to be patient, but Lin Luoran wants her believers to change actively. On the way to Ramoi, Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan are mixed in the crowd of worshippers. Many monks are looking for them. The eyes of those monks are shining, and there is the fluctuation of the power of faith around them. Obviously, they are the elites of Hasami sect, with supernatural powers. With Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan's personal ability, they can hide their breath. Both of them look like local people, and Lin Luoran even covers her face with a colorful headscarf. They are mixed in the crowd and going to Ramoi. How can ordinary Buddhist cultivators notice them? In a few days, the two have figured out the general situation of Hassa, and they have successfully arrived at the foot of the mountain of Ramoi. The snow on the towering snow mountain melts, and a large river bank is washed out at the foot of the mountain. The snow water is bone-chilling. The climate of Hassa is hot, and believers travel thousands of miles. They are all proud of being able to hold a mouthful of Wuxia River in person. This is the sacred river of life of Hassa. It can't be contaminated by human and livestock. Except drinking water on the river bank, even bathing in the river is forbidden. Only all kinds of precious spices and flowers can be thrown into the Wuxia River. Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan stand at the foot of the mountain. The Buddha's birthday is tomorrow, and a grand spell conference will be held on both sides of the Wuxia River. The rich have been carried by slaves to climb the mountain a few days ago. They have to donate tens of thousands of gold to have the opportunity to receive the blessing of Buddha in person in front of the golden statue of Hasami Buddha. Do we need to go up the mountain? Mu Tiannan pulls the white headscarf on his head. After staying in Hassa for a month, he feels that he has been soaked in various spices all over his body, which exudes a kind of fragrance similar to curry, but weirder than curry. Lin Luoran hesitates. Let's wait and see. Since there are Buddhist cultivators in Hassa, no matter whether Hasami Buddha is real or not, the location of the golden body of Buddha is the same as the Taoist field of God. As long as she rashly steps into the temple where the golden body of Hasami Buddha is worshipped, the collision of two different powers of faith is likely to hurt both sides. Unless the so-called Hasami Buddha is not a real Buddha. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan imitate the local people. They sit cross-legged on the bank of the Wuxia River, facing the river for the night. That night, river lanterns made of flowers are constantly put into the water. They are not extinguished by the waves. It is said that the owners of river lanterns will be blessed by Hasami Buddha. The river wind is quite strong at night, and only 1 out of 10 river lanterns survive. However, the rising water vapor sweeps away the pungent smell of spices and brings a trace of refreshing coolness to Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan. The black silk-like sky is dotted with twinkling stars. Although he is in the fanatical atmosphere of spices and religion, Mu Tiannan still looks at the night sky leisurely. Lin Luoran is sitting less than a foot away from him. He thinks that if time can bless this moment, it seems to be a good choice to stay by the Wuxia River for the rest of his life. In the hundreds of years since he cultivated as a monster as a human, Mu Tiannan can't remember if he has ever had a good sleep. When his personal ability was low, he couldn't sleep because of the invasion of the Alpha Alliance. When his personal ability was high, he couldn't sleep day and night because of the old bat's increasing pressure and the blood poison in his body. Later, with his personal ability, cultivation is to make up for the consumption of essence, qi, and spirit. How can he really sleep? Only this night, in a strange area separated from his homeland on the earth. Lin Luoran is sitting next to him. Because of the crowded crowd, Mu Tiannan doesn't know when he can really relax and fall asleep. A dreamless night. Mu Tiannan wakes up feeling refreshed. Hassa believers wash their hands and faces. They sink the spices they carry into the water. Maybe because they are soaked in snow water, all kinds of strong fragrances that usually smell pungent actually become a pleasant sandalwood after being mixed together. Sandalwood in front of the Buddha. However, those young girls dressed in luxurious clothes are still sitting on the ox cart. When the spell conference is over, they will be sunk into the Wuxia River to wash away the sins of the mortal world, and then offered to Hasami Buddha. What kind of Buddha is it to enjoy human sacrifice? Even if the snow water in the Wuxia River can make sandalwood, Lin Luoran still feels that everything in front of her is stupid and disgusting. The place illuminated by the sun and the moon is a small world. No matter how far away from the earth it is, the stars will always rise as usual on the planet where there are intelligent beings. Although it is not the sun, surrounded by the 8 planets, when the round sun jumps out of the Ramoi mountain range surrounded by clouds and fog, it shines on the golden top of the temple located on the main peak. The latter reflects solemn and magnificent golden light. Lin Luoran also has a moment of confusion. She doesn't doubt Hasami Buddha anymore. The first thought that comes to her mind is solemn. The golden light refracted by the golden top of the temple passes through the clouds and fog of the Ramoi mountain range all year round. It is cast on the surface of the Wuxia River where the sandalwood fragrance is curling up and the water vapor is dense. It meets the source of the clear snow water. The completely different visual impact of movement and stillness, luxury and simplicity, brings a shock to people's hearts. The bell rings from the top of the mountain. The people of Hassa have already knelt down and kowtowed. However, Lin Luoran is suddenly awakened. Mu Tiannan's eyes turn red. They look at each other, and both see the surprise in each other's eyes. If they are not awakened by the bell, they are almost immersed in this solemn atmosphere with their personal ability. It is not good news for the two of them. The other party has the right time, place, and people. If they really turn against each other, it will be very difficult to deal with them. Lin Luoran murmurs. Today is the so-called Buddha's birthday, the time when the power of wish is the most condensed. At this moment, the two of them are standing at the foot of the mountain where the golden body of Hasami Buddha is worshipped. It is like someone challenging the authority of mortal heart fairy in Dongting on the earth. No matter whether Hasami Buddha is real or not, Lin Luoran has already understood that she and Mu Tiannan's move of forcing the emperor to abdicate is not a good one. It's just that it's been more than 400 years. She has been thinking about reuniting with the Lins all the time. She's plotting slowly, like a frog in warm water, to stabilize the situation. She lacks patience. The chanting of scriptures is neither high nor low. The scriptures are obscure, and Lin Luoran doesn't understand which book it comes from. As time goes by, the temperature gradually rises, and the sandalwood fragrance in the Luoya River is getting stronger. The rich people who went up the mountain a few days ago must have received blessings in front of the golden body. At noon, a Buddha statue shrouded in golden light suddenly appears above the main peak. Buddha is merciful. Hasa is here. The believers kowtow. The golden body of the Buddha chants the name of Buddha, and a substantial gaze is shooting in the direction of Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran's converged power of faith automatically protects the owner and blocks the gaze. She and the Hasami Buddha meet in the air. In a short moment of confrontation, both sides have a rough estimate of each other's strength. This so-called Hasami Buddha is very strong. However, the power of faith is not solid. Obviously, it is not a real Buddha. The Hasami Buddha is also shocked. Lin Luoran's power of faith is not stronger than it, but it is thick and solid, which makes it both surprised and surprised. This human female cultivator actually gets the godhead of a real god. If it can get it, it will be a great opportunity for it. Mu Tiannen doesn't cultivate the power of faith, so he doesn't attract the attention of the Hasami Buddha. However, it is precisely because of the carelessness of the Buddha that Mu Tiannen notices the faint breath of the same kind under the light of Buddha. He is not a Buddha. Lin Luoran narrows her eyes and says slowly word by word. Mu Tiannen is shocked. Is he a monster? Countless power of faith rushes to the golden body of the Buddha statue. The Hasami Buddha chants the name of Buddha again. The bell rings 3 times, and its golden body disappears in the depths of the clouds. Believers can't stop crying. After a while, a group of monks wearing red cassocks with golden threads and straw sandals weaved by cattail rush down from the top of the mountain with a canopy. The eminent monk on the lotus platform is similar to the previous Hasami Buddha. He is kind and doesn't have the weak monster Reiki that Mu Tiannen noticed. Believers have been shouting Buddha Lord. Obviously, he is the spokesperson of Hasami Buddha in the human world. Of course, in Lin Luoran's view, he is the so-called Hasami Buddha himself. A bunch of golden threads invisible to ordinary people falls on Lin Luoran's head. A red light flashes in Mu Tiannan's eyes. He spits out red clouds and sticks the golden net in the air. Lin Luoran's movement becomes very slow. The monk suddenly opens his eyes, and the golden light surges. After seeing Mu Tiannan, he looks very strange. He probably doesn't understand why a real human like Mu Tiannen attacks with the fierce means of the monster. Let's go. One mountain can't accommodate 2 tigers, let alone 2 faiths. Lin Luoran and the so-called Hasami Buddha don't make a move. Once they make a move, there is no possibility of peace. The monk throws a golden net to catch her, but Mu Tiannan's red clouds repel her. Now they even break up. Lin Luoran says to Mu Tiannan. The two have turned into a stream of light and run straight to the Buddha city, built on the steep mountain wall. In the middle of the air, the Buddha Lord on the lotus platform shouts, "Evil Buddha!" In the panic of the believers below, the monks holding the canopy change into a square, trying to stop Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan. Mu Tiannan smiles slightly. In his heart, he sneers at a group of hypocrites who overestimate themselves and easily break the circle set by the monks. Buddha's light can subdue monsters, but unfortunately, this Buddha is not upright. The power of faith he produces can't do anything to a big monster like Mu Tiannan. Needless to say, Lin Luoran has completed the 5 elements of her gathering vitality. Except for the divinization doom, she already has the strength of a divinization cultivator. In the past, she had to rely on the escape spell. Now she can touch the fluctuation frequency of space, so she directly chooses to teleport. When she reappears, she is already in front of the temple on the main peak where the golden body of Hasami Buddha is worshipped. A 1,000-year-old Bodhi tree is like a rising cloud. The temple is full of incense. The strong faith keeps Lin Luoran under the tree and doesn't let her step out. Mu Tianen follows her and falls. The Buddha nature of the 1,000-year-old Bodhi tree makes him slightly uncomfortable. However, when he restrains his monster power, the Buddha nature certainly can't hurt him. In the square in front of the temple, a number of slaves favored by their masters are crawling. Seeing that the Buddha Lord's honor guard turns back halfway, they all look up in surprise. In the temple, the rich and noble dignitaries of Hasa are still enjoying the aftertaste of blessing. Seeing the monks carrying the lotus platform back, they go out of the temple in 2s and 3s to see what is going on. Hearing that the Buddha Lord says that the two people standing under the tree are evil abominations, with completely different skin color and dress, they are all panicked. They call their slaves to come forward to protect their masters. The monks in the temple go out in a line. People inside and outside the temple are anxious. In fact, they are in a mess because of the two bold evil abominations, who break into the place where the golden body of Hasami Buddha is. The evil land can't trap you. How dare you to be presumptuous in front of the Buddha? The Buddha Lord chants the name of Buddha. The Buddha bell rings, and the power of faith has set up an invisible barrier in front of Lin Luoran. The barrier shrinks step by step. It seems that he wants to capture Lin Luoran alive. Mu Tianan's face changes. This monster has been wearing Buddhist robes for a long time. When he takes action in person, the Buddha's light can almost be mistaken for the real one. It is much stronger than the monks who intercepted them before. Lin Luoran waves her sleeves, and the approaching barrier is stopped by her. We just passed by accidentally. We don't intend to compete with you for believers. Why are you so persistent? The sarcasm in the monster's eyes is covered by his kind appearance. Now that he has found that Lin Luoran has Godhead, how can he let her go easily? Interstellar Transmission Circle? The monster hasn't spoken the Wuxia language for many years, so his speech is a little difficult to understand. Lin Luoran is shocked. Isn't this monster from this place? It sounds like he is also an outsider. She still has doubts in her heart, so she says, "We really don't want to stay here for a long time, let alone stay here. Please tell us the location of the transmission circle. We will reward you generously." The Buddha Lord smiles kindly. "Reward you generously? Then what I want is your Godhead. Are you willing to give it to me?" Lin Luoran is not angry. She replies lightly, "You are not the only one who has this idea. It's a pity that aliens are short-sighted. You always think about building a cult and taking shortcuts. How can you prove the position of Buddha? Don't mention this ridiculous plan again. If I were you, I'd better propose some conditions that both sides can agree on. The deal is done. The starry sky is vast, and you and I probably won't meet each other again. Isn't it a win-win situation?" Mu Tianen laughs because of Lin Luoran's words, but the Buddha Lord is so angry because of her short-sightedness. The two evil Buddhas don't repent, and insist on making trouble in Hasa. Pilgrims go down the mountain. Monks in the temple form a magic circle to capture the two Buddhas and restore the peace in front of the Buddha. Yes, Buddha. The dignitaries of Hasa have been trembling for a long time. Hearing the Buddha's decree, they feel like they have been pardoned. They hurriedly order their slaves to guard them and want to go down the mountain. The monks in the temple surround Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan in a group. They hold copper lamps in their hands and turn them slowly. They are chanting obscure scriptures. Lin Luoran is very happy. "If I were you, I would wait a little longer. When the two sides win, you can open your eyes and see who is the real Buddhas." She says this in the local dialect, so everyone here can hear her clearly. The Buddha Lord shakes his head and says nothing. He only chants the scriptures. It seems that he feels sorry for the stubbornness of the evil Buddhas. The dignitaries look angry. They accuse Lin Luoran of offending the Buddha Lord, and she will not have a good ending. Mu Tianan sighs. They are obviously a group of sick puppets bewitched by monsters. Why do you have to do this? Mu Tianan is right. The Buddha confuses people and teaches the civilians and slaves, the largest population base, to be content with the status quo. They don't know how to resist unfair treatment. They defend the interests of the dignitaries. They are willing to worship Hasami Buddha. They are indeed a group of self-hypnotized puppets. The distinguished believers have left. The rotating copper lamp in the monk's hands and the chanting sutras are complemented by the monk's mouth. The other side has the right time, the right place, and the right people. The people's wish at this time is to let Buddha catch the two evil monks. The golden light is enhanced by the monks and the power of will. Lin Luoran also feels the pressure approaching step by step. Mu Tianen looks up to the sky and roars. A pair of black wings grow out from under his ribs. He looks horrible. Standing beside Lin Luoran, he really matches the description of Rakshasa in the ancient books. Men are extremely ugly and women are very beautiful, and they both feed on human beings. The monks turn the copper lamps and chant scriptures faster unconsciously. Mu Tianen flaps his wings. The strong wind makes the monks shake, and the copper lamps in their hands are half burning and about to go out. It's interesting. He is obviously a human, but he cultivates the arts of the monster. He has reached this level without exploding and dying. He and a female cultivator with Godhead whose strength has reached the critical point, but has not passed the divinization doom. Such a combination is really rare in 1,000 years. The Buddha Lord lowers his head and says to himself. He can't hide his smile. The expression under the kind eyebrows finally changes, and it immediately becomes countless times more vivid. Of course, when he moves, he inevitably shows some deeply hidden ferociousness. The little monk standing at the outermost corner inadvertently sees the ferociousness on the Buddha Lord's face. He is shocked and uneasy. The copper lamp in his hand is blown out by the wind of Mu Tianen's wings. His thin body also turns over in the wind and falls on the stone steps in front of the temple. Lin Luoran seizes this opportunity and stomps her feet. The leaves of the Bodhi tree behind her fall down one after another. Under the wind of Mu Tianen's wings, the monk is wrapped in the light of Buddha. Using one spear to attack the other's shield, the monk's robes are cut, and they are all injured. Some of them can no longer hold the lamps and chant scriptures, so the magic circle is naturally broken. The Buddha Lord is furious. The little monk who falls in front of the temple has ruined his plan. For a moment, countless condemning eyes look at the little monk who is struggling to get up angrily. Lin Luoran doesn't take advantage of the victory to attack. She stares at the embarrassed little monk with the Buddha Lord and other monks. The handsome little monk blushes. Lin Luoran puts her hand on her forehead and laughs. People of Sa let the devil fire run wild, but they don't know the real Buddha. Chapter 554. Young Master Jixio, we haven't seen each other for more than 400 years since we parted in Lhasa. At that time, Lin Luoran had not yet gathered her essence. She met Jixio in the Jokhang Temple in Lhasa. With his advice, she made up her mind to live as an ordinary person. Then Anner, on the Naka grassland, came into being. She even broke through the limitation of her state of mind and successfully gathered her essence. Seeing the evil female abomination greeting the young Buddhist monk who was a burden and made a fool of himself, all the monks are stunned. The young Buddhist monk has delicate features. It seems that he has been in the temple for a long time. He has never been absent from morning and evening classes. He doesn't talk much. He will finish all the hard work silently. In the temple with many monks, he has been like an invisible person for many years. At this moment, he suddenly enters the sight of the monks. Some monks who have been in the temple for a long time recall carefully. However, they don't know when the young Buddhist monk entered the temple. It may be hundreds of years or just a few days. No one can make a conclusion. There are no monks in the temple who are friends with him. Even the memory of the young Buddhist monk is vague. If the monks were only shocked, then the Lord Buddha's heart was in turmoil, and it was indescribable. How could a little novice monk sneak into his territory? Even with his control over Hassa, he didn't notice the little novice monk who lived under his nose every day. Besides, the young Buddhist monk who can come and go freely in the temple under the eyes of the monks also knows a divinization female cultivator with Godhead. Isn't it too much of a coincidence? The knowledgeable Buddha Lord instantly thinks that Jishio, the young Buddhist monk, is more dangerous than Lin Luoran. Hearing Lin Luoran greeting him, Jishio is confused for a long time. It seems that he recognizes Lin Luoran after a long time. He raises his head and smiles, but he speaks in the local language of Hassa. Jishio himself is also stunned. He finally changes back to the Wuxia language of the earth. When he talks to Lin Luoran, his tone is filled with the joy of reuniting with an old friend. Lay Buddhist Lin, you are really lucky. Before they separated, Lin Luoran sealed her memory and looked for an opportunity to gather essence in the Naka grassland. Unexpectedly, when they meet again, she has become a divinization cultivator and successfully left the earth. She has followed the footsteps of the predecessors and come to this world. When he first met Lin Luoran, Jishio was in the early stage of reincarnation. The holy spell of Buddhist cultivators is different from that of Lin Luoran. The latter is ever-changing and depends on personal understanding. However, the former can be summed up as 6 links. The divine state could turn many into one and one into many, big into small and small into big. He could enter the water or the ground without being obstructed by the stone walls of the mountains and rivers. He could also fly freely in the air without any hindrance. The heavenly ear allowed him to hear and understand the words of the living beings of the 6 paths. He was able to read minds and knew the thoughts and desires of all living beings. The heaven's eye could see into the distance. Everything nearby was not obstructed, and everything could be seen. It could see the karma of all living beings and know where the next life was. Fate connection. Fate represented the past. He knew where the karmic retribution of himself and all living beings came from. All leakage connection. All leakage connection was to cut off all worries. Leakage connection was to know that one and others were free from the worries of life and death. When Lin Luoran was about to bear essence, Jishio once saw her as a shepherd girl on the grassland. At that time, he was absent-minded looking at Lin Luoran's back, which even attracted the monks of the Jokhang temple to ask about it. How did he answer at that time? I know her in the past and I can foresee her in the future, but I don't know her in the present. Now the situation seems to be completely reversed. He could no longer understand Lin Luoran's mind with mind connection. What he saw in the past with fate connection seemed to be deliberately shown to him by someone. If he used Heaven's Eye again, Lin Luoran's future was a vast expanse of white wilderness. In more than 400 years, he had changed, but Lin Luoran's change was obviously more amazing. He didn't know her in the past, nor could he foresee her in the future. He only knew her in the present. Since the faith of her lineage, she had obviously become a god. No wonder he once sensed the fluctuation of the power of faith in Lin Luoran. At that time, he only thought that the Buddhism weapon was carried by a cultivator. In retrospect, he guessed that it had something to do with Lin Luoran's strong godhead now. People's thoughts changed quickly and were unrestrained. Lin Luoran met Jishio in this situation. Many complicated thoughts flashed through her mind. It only took a few seconds to think about it. Of course, she and Jishio talked about the old days as if there was no one else around. It still angered the existence known as Buddha Lord. He couldn't pretend to be kind anymore. He shouted, "Make a circle." The wounded monks turned over like they were injected with chicken blood. They didn't have time to pick up the copper lamp that was extinguished by Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannam before. They put their palms together to make a Taoist circle, surrounding Lin Luoran and the other 2 under the tree again. As soon as the obscure scriptures were read, the soft golden magic circle was no longer there. Under the 1,000-year-old Bodhi tree with pure Buddha nature, blood light was surging. Evil demon of hell swept over, and a bloody whirlwind attacked the 3 of them. Lin Luoran clicked her tongue. Buddha Lord had completely fallen out with her. He even used such a method in the open. The blood waves came, but Lin Luoran didn't move. Mu Tiannan's monster Reiki was surging, but it didn't seem to affect Jishio at all. The Azura blood sea was refreshing, and the fragrance of the 400-year-old jade hairpin flower lingered for a long time. Lin Luoran still didn't figure out what Jishio was cultivating. The Rakshasa evil ghost walked through the magic circle. Lin Luoran relied on the pure white power of faith to separate herself from the blood sea. Mu Tiannan's monster power was strong, so he didn't care about the little ghost. Jixio stood beside them, and the evil ghost simply ignored him. Buddha Lord never gave up the lotus platform from beginning to end. Seeing the situation in the magic circle, his eyes flashed, and he made a Taoist gesture. The 1,000-year-old Bodhi tree behind the three of them shone with golden light. A big mouth suddenly appeared and swallowed Lin Luoran, and the other two. Although this move came suddenly, it was not too difficult to get rid of it. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan didn't resist, but Jixio signaled them. Buddha Lord probably didn't expect it to be so smooth. If things were abnormal, there must be something wrong. He couldn't pretend to be kind anymore. He frowned slightly and told the monks to change the magic circle. He chanted sutras and made Taoist gestures to strengthen the inhibition of the Bodhi tree. The Bodhi tree was a very Buddha-like species. The gentle golden light suddenly turned into a big mouth and swallowed them. Lin Luoran and the other two fell into a dark space. With Lin Luoran's personal ability, her eyesight can tell the difference between day and night. However, at this moment, all she can see is pitch darkness. The light in the world seems to be swallowed by something. And it is indescribably cold. Soon, her toes landed on the ground. There was a slight sound, and something like a snake came over. Lin Luoran burned it with the true fire. The fire flashed, and she didn't have time to see the surroundings clearly. However, even the Samadhi true fire only lasted for a short moment before it was extinguished. It's very big here. Don't get lost. Jixio, who signaled Lin Luoran not to resist, finally said. A faint white light appeared. He flicked his fingers, and a white light rose and fell, turning into a halo around the three of them. With the help of the faint halo, Lin Luoran finally saw the surroundings clearly. The black fog was rolling outside the white halo. They were in the thick fog, and the surroundings were vast and boundless. They couldn't tell the location for a while. Master Jixio seems to be very familiar with this place. The white light was pure Buddha, and it was the nemesis of the black fog. However, according to Jixio's words, it seemed that this was not the first time for him to come here. Jixio nodded. He was too close to a young woman, and his handsome face was a little young and shy. He really looked like a little monk who had not been cleansed of the mortal world. I was in a muddle in Hassa before. In the more than 70 years since I woke up, I have quietly come here dozens of times. Finally, I have a little understanding of this place. Mu Tiannan, who had been very quiet, suddenly asked, Are we in the underground space of the Bodhi tree? During the conversation, the three of them had been walking. Based on their speed, the distance they had walked was probably more than the distance they had walked outside. However, they just couldn't see the end. Jixio nodded. Yes and no. You think we have walked a long way, but in fact, we have been in the Bodhi tree. Lin Luoran was stunned. Mount Meru hides a mustard seed, and a mustard seed hides a Mount Meru, mustard seed space? Jixio smiled and put his palms together. Lay Buddhist Lin, you know Buddhism very well. Lin Luoran blushed slightly. It was not difficult for cultivators to be knowledgeable. It just depended on whether people were willing to pay attention to the knowledge of other schools. Buddhism used mustard seed to describe extremely small things. Mount Meru was originally the name of a mountain in Hindu mythology. It referred to the residence of Sakra and the four heavenly kings. It was 84,000 meters high, so Mount Meru was used to describe extremely huge things. The two contained each other, just like there was a universe in the sacred pearl space, and there was a world in a flower and a leaf. A mustard seed could contain a huge Mount Meru. According to the definition of mustard seed space, they might not even be in the Bodhi tree at this time. They might just be in a certain Bodhi seed or a bark on the tree. Master Jixio claimed that he was muddle-headed before, and it has been more than 70 years since he woke up. What's going on? The mustard seed space was vast and boundless. Even if they didn't chat, the black fog around them that could swallow the light would make them feel creepy. Lin Luoran explained the mustard seed space to Mu Tiannan, and then turned to ask Jixio. The young Buddhist monk avoided talking about it. Instead, he was very interested in Lin Luoran's experience over the years. Lin Luoran told him what she could. When it came to her disappearance because of looking for Mount Punglai, Jixio was not moved by her lucky chance of finding Spirit Mountain. Instead, he sighed about Lin Luoran's experience in the Sea of Sin. In the past, when the shelter of gods was opened, Buddhism left together. Jixio was very worried about the catastrophe of the earth. Hearing that Lin Luoran had rebuilt the 5 elements before she left, the young Buddhist monk was so excited that he chanted the name of Buddha several times. Lay Buddhist Lin, you have boundless merit. You will have good fortune in the future. Did you come to the Hasami sect to find the interstellar transmission circle? Lin Luoran's eyes brighten. Master, do you know where the transmission circle is? Jixio is a little worried. The interstellar transmission circle happens to be under our feet, but we can only see it but can't use it. Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan are half happy and half worried. Does it mean that it is under the Bodhi tree? Then they can only see it but can't use it? Is the transmission circle broken? Master, you have entered the tree dozens of times, but you haven't left this star. Can't you repair the circle? Jixio sighs, lay Buddhist monks, please follow me and you will know the cause and effect. Chapter 555. A faint red light suddenly appears in the thick unknown, which makes people feel disgusted. Lin Luoran holds back her displeasure and follows the direction of the red light. This time, the 3 of them quickly pass through the black mist. Jixio stretches out his right palm and puts it in front of him. A huge force pulls the 3 people in the white halo together. When the halo reopens, the dazzling red light makes people unable to look at it directly. Lin Luoran tries hard to open her eyes and finds that the 3 of them are suspended in the air by the white halo. Under their feet, the source of the red light is burning. Countless shadows are twisting and moaning in the fire. Looking closely, they are all beautiful young women. Their expressions are extremely painful, but they can only shout and struggle. The fire is still silent, which is several times more terrible than the scene of crying and howling. These are, Lin Luoran has already guessed it, but she is not sure. Jixio's handsome and calm face is also angry. After a while he says, Lay Buddhist Lin, I'm afraid you have guessed that these resentful spirits are the women who are sacrificed in Hasa every year. Mu Tianan frowns. Sacrificing human beings is already stupid. Looking at the countless female resentful spirits in the fire below, how can it be as simple as sacrificing human beings? There is no reincarnation in the hellfire. Thousands of young women have been sacrificed and suffered from the fire day and night. The compassion on Jixio's face is obvious. Lin Luoran is silent for a long time and then says hoarsely, The interstellar transmission circle is under the resentful spirits, right? Her tone is very dignified, but it is not a questioning tone. Jixio nods. The 3 of them are suspended in the air and protected by the holy spells of Buddhism. The resentful spirits below are still extremely arrogant, which shows the danger. However, although Lin Luoran doesn't know all the details of Jixio, Jixio's voice and appearance have not changed for more than 400 years. No matter how humble he is still a person with the holy spells of Buddhism. It is not impossible for him to leave this star through the interstellar transmission circle. It can be seen that he wants to stay. In more than 70 years, I have sneaked in several times. Every time I want to help the resentful spirits, I am afraid that I will alarm the Buddha Lord outside and implicate the innocent people of Hasa. Therefore, I bear it again and again trying to find a foolproof way. It feels weird to chat on the heads of countless demons. The 3 of them return to the black fog, and Jixio tells them what happened in the past years. More than 400 years ago, the Earth's defense collapsed under the attack of the Alpha Alliance. Cultivators of all countries and races put aside their prejudices and temporarily united to open the Earth's last defense, the shelter of gods. Once the gods' protection was activated, the participants would have to be teleported away. Lin Luodong has the Taoist root of earth. Cui Wanlu has the Taoist root of water. Wen Guanjing has the Taoist root of fire, and has the Taoist root of wood, and Li Shi'er has the Taoist root of gold. 2 of the cultivators with the Taoist root of 5 elements are from the Lin family. Wen Guanjing and Li Shi are friends with Lin Luoran, so they can enter the Tower of Babel as they wish. Not only the Wuxia cultivators, but also the European vampires and some demons who had been hiding in the peaceful era. However, without the star map of the Jade Stairs, they didn't have the coordinates when they left through the Tower of Babel. After arriving at the second-rate spiritual world, the planets were different. For example, Wuxia was really unlucky. He was not only separated from the monks of the Buddhism school, but also landed in the Tiankui star, where Lin Luoran and others had been before with Xian Yuanping. Xian Yuanping has been living in seclusion with the old Taoist Huizhu for many years. Her hostility has become much calmer. Besides, because of the disaster of the earth, the world of personal ability in Wuxia has been united. Wuxia, with his compassionate character, has no defense against the former evil woman. When they first arrived at the second-rate spiritual world, they should work together to find their old friends. However, Xian Yuanping plotted against him. Lin Luoran visited many famous mountains in the past, and asked the Buddhism school to purify the resentment in the blood pool underground palace of Jinling. Xian Yuanping failed to cultivate the evil spirit, and was finally defeated by Lin Luoran. Xian Yuanping broke her wrist and fled far away. She had to give up her evil cultivation and learn Taoist talisman spell from Huizhu. If it were someone else, it would also be an opportunity for them to abandon the dark and seek the light. However, Xian Yuanping, who can endure the pain of the resentment in the blood pool underground palace, is more stubborn than Lin Luoran. Wuxia led the Buddhism school to purify the resentment in the blood pool, and cut off her way to cultivate the evil power. Therefore, Xian Yuanping absolutely hates him the third most. Evil woman Xian has a list of enemies in her heart. Wuxia took the third place and abandoned her biological father Huizhu. No matter how much compensation he will get later, he will definitely be on the list. Needless to say, Lin Luoran will definitely be the top one. The Wise Flower and Xian Yuanping have been in the Tiankui star for more than half a year. They have just figured out the general situation of this world, and plan to go to a prosperous planet of cultivation. However, Xian Yuanping plotted against them. At that time, Xian Yuanping's personal ability was not high. She relied on the Yinshan school behind the Tiankui star. She only said that Wuxia had a great treasure, and Yinshan school chased him. With Wuxia's status in the Buddhism school, it is not surprising that he has one or two Buddhism treasures. The Tiankui star is the sphere of influence of the Yinshan school. Suddenly, there is an unknown master of the Buddhism school walking around. No wonder the Yinshan school is afraid. Coupled with the instigation of the evil woman Xian, Wuxia was chased by the Yinshan school all the way. Not to mention finding the monks of the Buddhism school who came with him from the teleportation circle. He could save his life because he fell into this star. For nearly 1,000 years, the Hassa star has been marked with a dangerous symbol in the star atlas of the world of cultivation. Cultivators who accidentally entered this star never came back. In short, no one has ever come out. Some big schools thought that there was some treasure on this star, so they organized a group of disciples to explore. The whole team was annihilated, and 2 gathering vitality cultivators were killed. The second-rate spiritual world is vast, and there are many unexplored new stars. It is a crooked tree whose input and output are not proportional to each other. Learning from the previous example, other forces naturally shrink their necks and no longer ask about it. As soon as Wuxia entered Hassa star, the people of the Yinshan school had no choice but to give up chasing him. Wuxia, who was seriously injured, survived. However, Wuxia's situation is a bit special. In the Tibetan esoteric school, there is a saying that a spiritual boy reincarnated. Wuxia has always been a young Buddhist monk. It's not that he is pretentious or deliberately pretending to be weak. It's just that after several lives of recultivation, Wuxia still hasn't found the real Buddhism path. Lin Luoran hears this and thinks secretly. It turns out that he is a Buddhist monk. However, there are no gods and Buddhas in the world. No matter how long he cultivates on the earth, he can't see the light of Buddhism. This special situation, coupled with the weirdness of Hassa country, makes the seriously injured young Buddhist monk fall into a state of confusion. Logically speaking, he only needs to find a place to settle down and slowly recuperate. In a few decades, his injury will be healed. Unfortunately, The doctrine of Hasami sect propagated by the Buddha Lord of Hasa is everywhere on the mainland. Whether it is dignitaries or ordinary people, the distorted Buddhist doctrine is everywhere. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan come here. Of course, it doesn't matter. As soon as they hear the evil doctrine, they will immediately be vigilant. However, Jishio was seriously injured at that time. He was in a muddle-headed state and couldn't tell the truth from the falsehood. The doctrine of Hasami religion was derived from Orthodox Buddhism. Jishio slowly forgot his origin and turned to study Hasami religion. He is very talented in Buddhist cultivation. If the Hasami sect wants to control the entire mainland, it certainly can't rely on the Buddha Lord alone. Monks are popular. The temple dedicated to the golden body of Hasami Buddha in the Buddhist city Ramoi is the highest goal of monks everywhere. Jishio specializes in the doctrine of Hasami Buddha and succeeds. After many rounds of recommendation and selection, he is lucky to enter the Ramoi temple, where the Buddha Lord is. If it is a real holy land of Buddhism, a genius like Jishio will be treated as a treasure. However, everything the Buddha Lord does is only for his own personal interests. He preaches on the planet to collect the power of faith, and he recruits monks to train fighters. Jishio is only interested in the twisted doctrines that the Buddha Lord pieced together. He is forgotten by the Buddha Lord within 2 years of entering the Ramoi Golden Temple. Jishio lives a low-key and simple life in the temple. His personal ability is not high, but his appearance has not changed at all after decades. He scares himself and can't find the reason. He is afraid that he will be regarded as a monster. He can only hide again and again, hoping that the monks in the temple will turn a blind eye to him. His hope is naturally a kind of wish power. He can do big things, but he just hopes that people don't notice him. He uses some similar small spells quietly. After a few years, he finds that no one really pays attention to him, so he stays in the Golden Temple with peace of mind. There are hundreds of monks in the big temple, so it is not eye-catching to have one more person. Whether it is morning or evening classes or meals, Jishio always sits at the back. He never talks much. When he meets other monks, he just lowers his head and hurries past them. The monks in the Golden Body Temple changed quickly. Time flew. Who would take a second look at the little acolyte who always had a shy smile on his face? On the one hand, the Hasami sect takes advantage of the confusion of his mind. On the other hand, the wisdom of the previous generations reincarnated. Orthodox Buddhist doctrines occasionally emerge in his mind, which contradicts with the scriptures he recites every morning and evening. The young Buddhist monk is shocked and frightened. He trembles with fear for his impiety to Buddha. For hundreds of years, it is not only the comparison of the righteous and evil scriptures, but also the process of Jishio's search for a breakthrough in Buddhist cultivation and exploring the Buddhist doctrines. Suddenly, his mind becomes clear. He not only remembers his origin, but also makes great progress in the Buddhist realm that he has never broken through in previous generations. Wherever Heavenly Ear goes, the first thing he finds is the anger, hatred, and pain of the resentful spirits hiding under the Bodhi tree for thousands of years. They are intertwined into a cry of sorrow. Then he uses destiny connection to observe the so-called Buddha Lord. Jishio can't help but be stunned even though he is calm. As one of the orthodox 6 connections of Buddhism, destiny connection represents the past. Jishio knows where the karma of himself and all living beings comes from. Jishio secretly observes with destiny connection and sees through the origin of the so-called Buddha Lord. There is monster Reiki in the Buddha's light. What the hell is he? Jishio talks about hundreds of years of experience in detail. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan are fascinated by the ups and downs of the events. The young Buddhist monk stops at the critical moment. Mu Tiannan can't help but ask immediately. Jishio glances at him. Mu Tiannan is a monster cultivator of the human race. In the eyes of the young Buddhist monk, he is not far from the origin of Buddha Lord. However, because Mu Tiannan is with Lin Luoran, the young Buddhist monk doesn't say much. Lay Buddhist Mu, you have sharp eyes. That Buddha Lord is really not a good thing. You too can break the world and come here. You must know that there is a spiritual world above this world. Lin Luoran nods. The world where the earth is has been abandoned by cultivators. In the future, it will probably focus on technological civilization. The spiritual world above the second-rate spiritual world is the spiritual world where divinization cultivators ascend. It is a new world created before gods and Buddhas leave. With Liao around, these secrets are not really secrets. The mortal world where the earth is located has withered. As early as 10,000 years ago, the cultivation school began to slowly migrate to the second-rate spiritual world with the Tower of Babel. The stars in this world are vast. Somehow, even the bloodline of the earth is the same. However, the prosperity of cultivation we see today is not due to the arrival of earth cultivators. For decades, I have guessed that the small earth, where Buddhism and Taoism coexist and there are hundreds of races, may not be that personal ability enhancement originated from the earth. Maybe the earth was once a member of this world. The earth is a member of the second-rate spiritual world? This is a new idea. With the prosperity of the primitive world, countless powerful monsters should have the strength to cross the void. However, there is no trace of this in the alliance of the galaxy. If they have the strength, there is no reason for them to hide in a corner. Lin Luoran is puzzled about this phenomenon. Hearing Jixio's words, she suddenly has a new idea. There are countless planes in the universe, which are called worlds by cultivators. If the earth really belonged to the second-rate spiritual world, and was suddenly removed by someone with great holy power, it fell from the world of cultivation civilization to the plane of technological civilization. Only Wuxia people on the earth have the Taoist root, and only earthlings can cultivate. Therefore, it makes sense that the earth is incompatible with other planets with technological civilization. Just like all the planets in this world have interstellar transmission circles, the earth also has the Tower of Babel. The difference is that the interstellar transmission circles in the world of cultivation are interstellar transmission, while the Tower of Babel on the earth leads to the second-rate spiritual world. This is not something that the world of cultivation can do. Even the big schools in the world of cultivation can't open up the space channel. Otherwise, they can directly make a channel connecting this world to the spiritual world. Everyone can just move to a blessed place for personal ability enhancement with abundant Reiki. Why bother to go through the divinization doom, which is very dangerous? The fake saintess follows the footsteps of the man in robe. She crosses the long interstellar space to come to the earth, but she arrives far later than the man in robe. The two obviously come to the earth one after the other, but they are separated by 10,000 years. Lin Luoran used to think it was because of the crack of time and space. Now a bolder idea comes to her mind. If the earth really belonged to the second-rate spiritual world, or even when the man in robe found it, it was still in the second-rate spiritual world. At that time, the people on the earth were just enlightened, and hundreds of races were waiting to prosper. Then the man in robe played the role of educator, and the earth began to have the saying of training qi and cultivation. The old era where gods and Buddhas were everywhere and cultivators were like dogs really happened on the earth. However, there are thousands of gods and Buddhas. How can a small planet provide enough power of faith to form the heavenly palace of Taoism and the spirit mountain of Buddhism? If all gods and Buddhas come from the earth, but the alliance of the galaxy with technological civilization has never heard of them, the earth is really incredible. But what if the earth was still in the second-rate spiritual world at that time? Many things that she doesn't understand can be explained at once. From the primitive era to the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, Lin Luoran used to wonder where the lost history of Wuxia went. There is no reason why it suddenly becomes difficult to cultivate when gods and Buddhas are everywhere. However, if this spiritual world is the real world of cultivation, and the earth is suddenly moved to the plane of technological civilization, the so-called lost history will suddenly have cause and effect. The history of the earth itself has always been there. It is the sudden change of the environment in which it is located. The original reasonable history of civilization is put in an abrupt and mismatched environment. Of course, it is strange. In the primitive era, there were many powerful predecessors. They must have traveled across the starry sky to planets other than the Earth. However, at that time the Earth was still in the second-rate spiritual world, the plane of technological civilization. How could there be traces of cultivation? According to Liao, the second-rate spiritual world, and the spiritual world came into being after the migration of gods and Buddhas. Of course, gods and Buddhas migrated, but how can they give up all their believers? The second-rate spiritual world is the real world of cultivation. Perhaps it is more appropriate to call it the mortal world in the eyes of gods and Buddhas. The only achievement they made before migration is probably to open up the spiritual world and make a divinization doom. Lin Luoran doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. It turns out that the world of cultivation is as stable as a mountain, and the spiritual world is lush. The Earth is the only planet that has been abandoned. With the ability of the man in robe, it should be easy for him to cross worlds. She just doesn't know if the Earth was moved out of the second-rate spiritual world by him. However, it is certain that he has wandered in the plane of technological civilization. Otherwise he will not provoke the fake saintess. Then the man in robe finds the Earth, which still belongs to the second-rate spiritual world. The Tao of nature is clear. To move a planet, the orbit of the planets in the solar system must be changed. It is not a small matter for any great god to change the orbit of stars. The space adjacent to the Earth should be full of cracks, so it is natural to make some mistakes. Therefore, when the fake saintess goes to the Earth through the stars, the man in robe has already disappeared without a trace. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 years have passed. Therefore, for thousands of years, except for those who ascend to the spiritual world, other cultivators who leave through the Tower of Babel simply return to the original place of the world of cultivation. For a moment, there are thousands of thoughts and all kinds of feelings in her mind. Lin Luoran is stunned and speechless. Mu Tiannan finds her strange and gently wakes her up. Lin Luoran is suddenly enlightened. She feels that her mind is so tired, as if she has wandered for 10,000 years. Why do you look so tired? Mu Tiannan asks worriedly. Lin Luoran shakes her head. She can't explain everything to him for a while. Zhixio finishes talking about his doubts, and he has already talked about the origin of the Buddha Lord of Hasa. There are many Buddhist cultivators and schools in the world of cultivation. Naturally, there are also Buddhist cultivators in the spiritual world. I don't care if you laugh at me. This evil creature comes from the spiritual world. Its original body is a white rat that stole the lamp oil in front of the Buddha. It was infected with the nature of Buddha and gained spiritual wisdom. After cultivating silently, it was able to transform. There are many monster cultivators in the upper world. It doesn't matter if there is one more rat monster with the nature of Buddha. However, the white rat is greedy. It eavesdrops on the secrets of Buddhism and tries to become Buddha through a shortcut. This is the absurd and indescribable Hasami sect that you see. After saying this, Zhixio chants the name of Buddha. He is quite embarrassed to be a scumbag monster from Buddhism. Mu Tiannan touches his nose. He hates this handsome little Buddhist monk the most. When talking about the rat monster, he looks at him out of the corner of his eyes. It seems that Mu Tiannan stole the lamp oil in front of the Buddha. Lin Luoran frowns. A rat monster from the spiritual world? But his current body is not a monster. You may not know this, but the spiritual world is just like this Hasa star. People can only ascend when they go through doom. Cultivators in the upper world can't go down. The rat monster marks its primordial spirit with the secret method of Buddhism and retains the memory of its previous life. It sneaks into the lower world and throws itself into the belly of a pregnant woman of the human race. Then it comes out as a human to cultivate Buddhism. It is just like the Taoist technique of possession. Therefore, it is extremely difficult to deal with a human body and a monster soul. A human body and a monster soul? Chapter 556. He marked the primordial spirit with the secret spell of Buddhism and forcibly possessed the body of Buddha to cultivate Buddhism. Even Lin Luoran is sweating profusely, not to mention Mu Tiannan, who is not doing anything. How can he cultivate Buddhism? The rat monster's behavior now shows that he has already become a devil. When he eavesdropped on the secrets of Buddhism, he learned that gods and Buddhas are closely related to the power of faith. The news he eavesdropped is naturally messy. If he can become a Buddha by relying on the power of faith of ignorant people, then he is really inferior to gods and Buddhas. Lin Luoran wants to apatheicize herself. The right time, the right place, and the right people come together. If there is no golden book and golden seal when the heaven conferring, how can she apotheosize? Gods and Buddhas are not the same as immortals. The latter are cultivators who understand the Tao of nature. When their strength reaches a certain level, they will naturally become gods. However, gods and Buddhas have positions. The position of gods needs to be conferred by the heaven, while the position of Buddha needs the light of Spirit Mountain. Lin Luoran has met more than the rat monster who wants to seize the godhead. As early as hundreds of years ago, Yamada no Orochi of Neon did this. At that time, her personal ability was low, so Yamada no Orochi chose to die with it. The remnant soul of Kiki Kagaya, of Neon scattered her power of faith to deal with Yamada no Orochi. But now, although the rat monster was born in the spiritual world, he only left his primordial spirit to possess the fetus in his belly to recultivate. Lin Luoran also has the personal ability of divinization. Besides, Mu Tiannan and Jishio still can't defeat the rat monster. She has been cultivating for hundreds of years for nothing. However, it is said that Jishio woke up from a muddle-headed state for more than 70 years. With his means, it is still debatable whether he can't defeat the rat monster, or he has other concerns. Hearing Lin Luoran's question, the young Buddhist monk becomes more embarrassed. The holy spells of Buddhism are mostly used to enlighten all living beings. Except for the natural ability to restrain demons, they have little attack power. The rat monster gathers the power of faith and hides his primordial spirit deeply. The holy spells of Buddhism can't do anything to him. More importantly, he has been operating on this star for many years. The cult is too bewitching. A centipede dies but never falls down. If it can't be uprooted, the rebound force of the Hasami sect is enough to turn the entire continent into a real Shura purgatory. After the explanation, Lin Luoran immediately understands that Jishio's words must be modest. It's not that he can't deal with the rat monster, but he has no helper to deal with the follow-up events after dealing with the rat monster. This Bodhi tree is a rare species. The rat monster uses the resentful spirits as nutrients to nourish the Bodhi tree, which is full of Buddha chi. Its roots are in the ground, making it difficult to kill. Moreover, it is connected to the rat monster. Both of them must be killed together. Lin Luoran points at her feet. The master must be troubled by the thousands of ghosts trapped in the interstellar transmission circle under the tree. Just as lay Buddhist Lin said, the moment the rat died and the tree died, the formation that trapped the vengeful spirits under the tree was also destroyed. The vengeful spirits fled in all directions, and this planet will be plunged into misery and suffering. This is really against the heavenly Tao. What a stable triangular relationship. The rat monster in human skin, the Bodhi tree, and the vengeful spirit are all interconnected. Even if there are some Buddhist masters who occasionally visit this planet and want to deal with the rat monster, they have to swallow their anger for the sake of more innocent creatures. If this drags on, the local rat monster will inevitably take the initiative. Mu Tiannan, who has been repeatedly shot in the knee, finally has a chance to speak. Now there are 3 of us. Isn't it better to deal with the rat monster, destroy the tree, and suppress the vengeful spirits? Lin Luoran ponders for a while and nods. It has a human body and a monster soul, so the holy spells of Buddhism are useless to it. However, it can still use Buddhism to deal with Brother Mu. It seems that I have to deal with the rat monster myself. Brother Mu is responsible for destroying the tree. Master, you have a heavier responsibility. Can you handle the thousands of vengeful spirits under the tree? Monsters are not good at saving people, but Brother Mu is good at destroying things. No matter how stubborn the root of the Bodhi tree is, he only needs to cooperate with Lin Luoran to extract all the vitality of the tree, and the natural spirit seed will not survive. Lin Luoran's proposal is exactly what Jishio wants. The 3 of them discuss it again. Jishio divides the white halo around the 3 of them into 3. He throws Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan out of the Bodhi tree space, and then he goes to the bottom of the tree where the vengeful spirits gather. The sky is low, and the air is filled with the smoke of burning candles and the rich fragrance of sandalwood. The white halo that Jishio assigns to Lin Luoran is a Buddhism spell. The 2 of them go out of the tree one after another. Outside the Bodhi tree, there are dozens of monks sitting on the ground surrounding the trunk. The candles in front of the temple illuminate the surroundings as if it were daytime. However, no monk finds the two of them. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan have a tacit understanding after being together for 100 years. They look at each other and nod. Lin Luoran sneaks into the temple quietly. Mu Tiannan stays where he is, turns around and puts his hand on the old and uneven trunk of the Bodhi tree. He quietly closes his eyes and feels the majestic vitality of the 1,000-year-old tree. The Bodhi tree provides nutrients with evil means, and the monster power in Brother Mu's body comes from the same source. It slowly penetrates into the tree, so it doesn't disturb the rat monster which is closely connected to the Bodhi tree. Jishio, the young Buddhist monk staying in the space under the tree, looks at the painful and angry thousands of vengeful spirits and sighs. He silently recites scriptures, which turn into a white lotus jumping out of the beer. The light of Buddha shines. Compared with the solemn appearance of the rat monster, it is less ostentatious, but it is the real piece of Buddha. However, Lin Luoran has sneaked into the temple. The mountain is high and the temple is big. The summer night wind passes through the stone and golden temple, and the candles are swaying. This sacred temple of Hasa is quite jittery. The monks in the temple gather in the main hall for evening classes. Lin Luoran stands outside the door and listens quietly for a while. In terms of piety, it is no worse than what she has heard in the Buddhism school on the earth. The fluctuation of the power of faith in the monks also reflects their extraordinary strength. It's a pity that the monks start by reciting scriptures in the morning and evening. They can't find the right way of Buddhism, even if they practice for 1,000 years. With some regret, Lin Luoran's palm emits a mass of white light. She lowers her head and blows on her palm. The white light expands like a bubble until it completely wraps up the main hall. Some monks have found something wrong and stop reciting scriptures. The white light shrinks again and again until the air around the monks is frozen. They can't move in their original posture. Lin Luoran finally shows a satisfied look. Such a big killer move is certainly not a mini-world. It is the Taoism, imprisonment, she learned during the reconstruction of the earth for 100 years. It is easy to use imprisonment to deal with enemies whose personal ability is far lower than hers. It is like an immortal playing with mortals from a high position. Of course, it is only a waste of meta to use imprisonment to deal with opponents whose personal ability is far lower than Lin Luoran's. Imprisonment can only trap but not attack. The Taoism doesn't make much noise, but the rat monster sitting on the futon in the back hall still notices something unusual. Spells, arts of nature, and immortal spells are all highly graded. Not to mention the world of cultivation. Even in the spiritual world, there are few immortal spells. Even Lin Luoran is blessed by God. Ordinary cultivators are lucky to study the incomplete impartation of immortal spells. Lin Luoran's move shocks the rat monster. The red light flashes in the rat monster's eyes. It is indeed careless. It is a combination of a monk, a monster and a god. Its mistake is that it shouldn't have expected the Bodhi tree to completely trap the three. Lin Luoran follows the trace and goes to the back hall of the temple. She flicks her sleeves and opens the door of the shop. The candlelight goes out instantly, leaving only the smoke. The rat monster has disappeared from the futon. Lin Luoran is vigilant. A bloody wind comes from behind. Under the heavy blow, the white halo given by Jishio has been shattered. Lin Luoran groans and falls into the hall. The rat monster's figure appears in the air. Without any hesitation, he turns over his hand and makes another blow. A Buddha's handprint falls down, and the entire back hall is instantly crushed. Broken stones and wood chips are crushed into dust under the gravity. There is only a deep pit left in the once magnificent back hall. Not only the dozens of monks sitting under the Bodhi tree are shocked, but many believers who have not dispersed at the foot of the mountain are also very shocked when they see the golden handprint falling from the air. Dozens of monks under the Bodhi tree are still considering whether to stay by the tree or go back to the temple. The unarmed Hasa people at the foot of the mountain are terrified. They stand there and silently chant scriptures, which brings a lot of help to the rat monster. Light groups of the power of faith fly up to the top of the mountain and gather in the golden temple. The rat monster looks refreshed and smiles. Lin Luoran flies out of the pit with a dirty face. She sighs that every dog has its day. After leaving the earth, her protagonist halo is dim, and she immediately becomes cannon fodder. The Hasami school is a heresy, but Ramoi is indeed the Taoist field of the rat monster with thousands of years of experience. The current situation is just like the time when she led believers to resist the starship of the Alpha Alliance in Dongting City. The rat monster is so powerful that it is extremely difficult to deal with it. However, she plays the role of the Alpha Alliance. No, the longer it takes, the more people will be alarmed. Then she will become the enemy of hundreds of millions of people in the entire country of Hassa. That will be really funny. Relying on the power of faith is the most stupid thing. When Lin Luoran is thinking, she has fought with the rat monster for several times. The rat monster has the geographical advantage. Compared with it, Lin Luoran has the advantage of stable godhead. After all, this is the Taoist field of the Hasami school. The human and the monster are almost on the same level when they fight for several times. The opponent's tricks are very mysterious. Lin Luoran grits her teeth, and white light appears in her palm again. She lowers her head and blows gently. The light shield covers her and the rat monster together. It's the art of immortality. After cultivators reach the gathering vitality level and monsters transform, arts of nature become the mainstream. With Lin Luoran's strength, the art of immortality is actually not powerful. However, it is at a higher level than arts of nature, so it is destined to be powerful. The rat monster has a long history, and it also has the inheritance of the art of fragmentary claws. It is surprised that Lin Luoran is so familiar with it. However, it soon finds that the female cultivator with the godhead is trapped together with it. It doesn't know whether the opponent's brain is full of bean dregs or her art of immortality fails. Within the scope of the circle of confinement, the coercion is getting heavier and heavier. With the help of the supernatural power of the rat monster, it feels that the surroundings are heavy and its neck seems to be tied with a rope, making it difficult to speak. However, this does not cover its mockery of Lin Luoran. You use the art of immortality beyond your ability. What's the use of trapping me? I'm afraid that you have no spare strength to launch an attack. Lin Luoran smiles reluctantly. Buddhist cultivators have the godly state. They can turn many into one, and one into many, big into small, and small into big. They can enter the water and the ground without being hindered by the stone walls of mountains and rivers. They can also fly freely in the air and come and go without any hindrance. Without the art of immortality, how can I trap you? The mockery in the rat monster's eyes is getting stronger. What's the use of trapping it? As long as Hassa is not destroyed, the power of faith it can get will continue to grow. On the contrary, the female cultivator who traps it is consuming energy. How long can it be trapped by the art of immortality? Lin Luoran keeps silent. She moves her fingers, and the space under the light shield is completely stagnant. The rat monster and herself can no longer move within the scope of the art of immortality. A white ball of light hangs in the night sky. Its brilliance even overshadows the moonlight in the distance. Followers of the Hasami sect at the foot of the mountain are at a loss. The 10 monks sitting under the Bodhi tree can no longer bear it and stand up. As soon as they move, Mutian-nan, who is standing quietly with his palms against the trunk of the Bodhi tree, also moves. Gurgle, 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 the pulsating sound of trickling water. It is like the heartbeat of the Bodhi tree. It is closely connected with the rat monster. This tree is alive. Logically speaking, it should have become a monster long ago. Mutian-nan can't figure it out, but he doesn't think about it. Alive is easy to deal with. He learned all his evil arts from the old bat, and he once sucked human blood. It is not easy to kill a tree. However, Brother Mu is very familiar with swallowing. Mutian-nan's 5 fingers turn into hooks, piercing the bark and sinking into the trunk. There is a suction force in the tree that wants to pull him in. Mutian-nan spreads his wings and stands still like a bell. A demonic tree that didn't have any spiritual wisdom, and it wanted to compete with him. It was really overestimating itself. Black light walks in the open space in front of the temple. The monks exclaim and turn back with copper lamps in their hands. Mu Tiannan's black wings open and close, pulling the monks behind him and knocking them all out. The corners of his mouth curled up devilishly. The essence of the Bodhi tree had already flowed into his body through his hand that was inserted into the tree trunk. No matter how hard the Bodhi tree shook its leaves, how could a tree that was trapped in its original spot compete for the great demon's devouring? The rat monster in the circle of imprisonment is furious. It turns out that Lin Luoran wants to destroy the Bodhi tree by trapping it. How can two cultivators who have just arrived in Hasa know its details? Is it possible that the young novice monk in the temple is actually a powerful Buddhist cultivator who hides his power? It is impossible. Such a powerful Buddhist cultivator is also the top in the spiritual world. How can he come down to the mortal world to fight against it? Jixio has reincarnated several times and stayed in the mortal world in order to prove the cause and effect and find the real Western nirvana. His perseverance and vision are beyond the imagination of the rat monster. Yellow leaves fall from the Bodhi tree branch, and it gradually withers. The rat monster's vital energy and blood are surging, and its primordial spirit is turbulent. It struggles hard in the prison. Lin Luoran frowns tightly. She doesn't let go and only tries her best to maintain the prison that traps her together. As Mu Tiannan swallows the life essence of the Bodhi tree, the red light in his eyes becomes more and more intense. Before he went to the Chaos Spirit Spring in the underground palace of Jinling to wash the devil energy, the essence of this tree is really a great tonic. At this time, the devil energy in his body is all gone and only monster power is left. The Bodhi tree is nourished by demons. Mu Tiannan can hardly suppress the surging devil energy after absorbing the essence of the tree. He makes up his mind and closes his fingers. The life essence of the whole tree is absorbed into his body. Mu Tiannan's eyes are so red that it seems that tears of blood are about to drip out. The 1,000-year-old tree with intertwined roots and joints has completely withered. It falls backward under Mu Tiannan's flapping wings. The trunk is as heavy as gold and iron, and it smashes the gorgeous temple gate into pieces. As soon as the tree dies, Lin Luoran dispels the prison. The rat monster spits out a mouthful of blood and hits Lin Luoran with another Taoist handprint. Lin Luoran's face is pale and her figure flashes. The solemn Buddha has lost his temperament after his arm is cut off. He doesn't blame Mu Tiannan for destroying the tree. He just keeps attacking Lin Luoran. Every time Lin Luoran wants to use her fingers as a pen to write down the golden word figures, she is chased by the rat monster. Followers of the Hasami sect at the foot of the mountain only hear several loud noises on the top of the mountain. The light of the fight between the two illuminates the top of the mountain, as bright as day. Most of the towering golden temple has collapsed. As soon as the Taoist spell that traps the monks in the hall is withdrawn, the monks regain their freedom. In the air, Lin Luoran and their Buddha turn into two streams of light and chase each other. The monks have never seen such a rampant evil monk. Once they are free, they want to go to the bell tower to ring the alarm and call for the help of believers all over the country. In the air, the rat monster laughs. You evil monks have committed heinous sins. How dare you destroy my millennium-old Bodhi tree? Aren't you afraid that you will die? The rat monster's laughter is as loud as a bell. Believers at the foot of the mountain are relieved. It seems that the Buddha is not hurt by the evil monk. However, it deliberately lowers its voice in the second half of the sentence. Lin Luoran can't help but worry about Mu Tiannan. He has been standing in front of the pit for a long time. Lin Luoran doesn't know if there is a problem. You are overconfident. How can a little monster swallow and absorb the life essence of the Bodhi tree? It is just to let the Bodhi tree change into a human form and take root in Hasa again. The rat monster says and stops chasing. Lin Luoran is surprised. However, she sees that the monks have climbed up the high bell tower and are hugging the log together. They are about to ring the huge bronze bell. Lin Luoran's intuition tells her that it is not a good thing to let the monks succeed. However, the rat monster tightly locks her breath. It seems that if she moves, it will attack with all its strength. Lin Luoran is in a dilemma. In the blink of an eye, a beam of black light shot out. Amidst the furious roars of the monks, the tall bell tower was destroyed and collapsed from the middle. The purple copper bell was smashed into a copper lump that was hard to distinguish from its original appearance. Mu Tiannan, who is believed by the rat monster to be overconfident and attack the Bodhi tree, is doomed. He flaps his wings slightly and floats in the air. Mu Tiannan's eyes are clear. There is nothing wrong with him. Impossible. The rat monster seems to be greatly shocked. Brother Mu coughs and spits out a red light ball from his mouth. He holds it in his hand with disgust. It tastes terrible. Chapter 557. Mu Tiannan pinches the small red light ball with disgust. While talking, he pinches the small red light ball hard. The rat monster really wants to spit blood again. Lin Luoran finally grasps the very short moment when it is distracted. She uses her fingers as a pen and quickly catches the pulse of fire. She has finished writing a golden word figure. Fire burns from all directions, forming a cocoon and surrounding the rat monster. In fact, the word thunder is the best way to deal with monsters. However, Lin Luoran has the personal ability of divinization, but hasn't passed the doom yet. She doesn't dare to rashly attract the purple thunder. She is afraid that she will have to pass the doom of divinization before the rat monster is killed. The golden word figure is learned from the Great Tao, which is the most orthodox inheritance of the man in robe. Every word is broken into pieces and analyzed carefully. The word fire, written by Lin Luoran with the personal ability of divinization, is quite different from when she first learned it on the way of interstellar wandering. The previous fire can be traced, but now it is unknown where the fire comes from and how to extinguish it. Mu Tiannan cultivates as a monster. When the fire cocoon surrounds the rat monster, he can't help but avoid it. No one knows what it feels like to be the rat monster inside. Can it be burned? Mu Tiannan pinches the small red light ball and moves forward. Lin Luoran looks inside the fire cocoon. The rat monster is possessed by the Buddha's light. Unless it is completely cut off from the country of Hassa, where the power of faith is generated, it will take a long time. Even Lin Luoran doesn't know how long it will take. But where can she cut off the connection between the rat monster and the believers of Hassa? The power of faith is a fetter that even the world can't cut off. Take Lin Luoran herself as an example. She left the earth from the Tower of Babel to the world of heaven. There are thousands of invisible threads, but the believers on the earth are still sending faith light balls to her ocean of consciousness. Lay Buddhist Lin. Jixio's voice rings. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan land and go to the pit where the Bodhi tree is uprooted. Looking through the hole, they see a huge underground space under the golden temple. Jixio, the young Buddhist monk, is sitting cross-legged among the demons. Seeing the two of them, he smiles solemnly. These demons must have been tortured before their death, so their resentment lingers for years. What they hate the most is the rat demons. If there is any place in the world that can pollute the people's power of will, it is here. Jixio's tone is bitter. He is reciting scriptures, and the demons are circled around him. Looking at their expressions, Jixio knows that their pain has been reduced. However, once they see the rat monster, thousands of demons will boil again. It's almost dawn. Lin Luoran vaguely knows Jixio's scruples, but the current situation doesn't give her much choice. She has to lead the fire cocoon into the circle of resentful spirits. Two different kinds of fire meet. The former tortures the demons, while the latter cleanses the sins. A vacuum zone appears in the circle of demons, and Jixio also jumps into the air. Demons notice the breath of the rat monster. Jixio's previous appeasement is all in vain. They rush to surround the fire cocoon like moths darting into the fire. Wherever the filth is, even the most devout faith can't be placed. Lin Luoran can see that the light of faith rising from the foot of the mountain can't get close to the pit of demons. The rat monster's power is cut off. The rat monster in the fire cocoon finally feels that something is wrong. At first, it scolds angrily. However, when the sky gradually brightens, it has become a faint plea. No matter how many benefits it promises, temptations and threats, it can't move the three hearts that are as hard as gold and iron after witnessing the misery of thousands of demons. The sun is a hindrance to the demons. At dawn, Mu Tiannan even spreads his wings to block the entrance of the pit of demons. The situation is clear. Once the rat monster's power is cut off, the fire cocoon will burn its defense. Then its body will be burned and the primordial spirit of the rat monster will be exposed. At that time, the believers and monks of Hasa will carefully identify who is the real devil. After dawn, the monks of the Hasami sect have already reacted. The Hasami sect has been operating for many years, so they naturally have a special way to contact each other. Buddha's birthday has just passed, so both believers and monks from all over the world gather in Ramoi. At dawn, Lin Luoran finds many people rushing to the mountain. Fanatical believers are not afraid of death at all. In their opinion, Rakshasa does evil and the true Buddha is in trouble. In order to save the Buddha, they can sacrifice their worthless mortal bodies. In fact, they will be recognized by the Buddha and go to the Elysium world. Lin Luoran is moved by their involvement, but she doesn't agree with their behavior. After thinking about it, she casts a spell of nature and projects the scene under the pit of demons into the sky. Thousands of twisted phantoms of young women suddenly appear, which stupefies some people. Lin Luoran snorts coldly. These demons are all harmed by your Buddha. Let me see who dares to stop me from killing the devil. Jishio chants the name of Buddha and lowers his head to recite sutras. His eyes are as clear as pools, and there are tears flashing in the corners of his eyes. The exhaustion of personal ability reincarnation makes him extremely soft-hearted. The fire has been burning for 3 days. Lin Luoran has consumed 70% or 80% of the meta in her body. Thousands of demons are wailing, which naturally affects the state of mind of the rat monster in the fire cocoon. In other situations, this fake Buddha can still be calm. However, it is surrounded by thousands of creatures that it has harmed. As soon as the flaw in its state of mind appears, the solemn Buddha's light fades like water. It is defeated like a landslide. No matter how strong the human body is, it is not enough to resist the continuous burning of the fire. During the 3 days, the monks and crazy believers who try to go up the mountain are all fanned away by Mu Tiannan with his wings. On the 4th day, the sun jumps out of the mountains and sprinkles on the broken mountain top, covering the former glorious and sacred Hasami Golden Body Temple. A wail resounds through the Ramoi Buddhist city. Red light flashes. The rat monster's primordial spirit turns into a cloud of fog and wants to escape. However, it is dragged back by thousands of demons. The big white rat flashes and disappears in the air of the Buddhist city. The rich fragrance of the Luya River has not dissipated. Compared with the shouts of the crazy believers, it is really ironic. Fooling people and killing innocent women. It is not a crime to kill it. Lin Luoran hasn't had the intention to kill for a long time. She doesn't even have this kind of emotion when she sees Xian Yuanping again. The only thing she wants now is to destroy the rat monster's soul, so that it can never enter reincarnation. Jishio sighs repeatedly. Lay Buddhist Mu, please throw the life essence of the Bodhi tree into the fire. Mu Tiannan has been holding the small red light ball for 3 days. He can't eat it, but it would be a pity to throw it away. Listening to Jishio's words, he throws it into the fire. The Bodhi tree is ignorant and has no spiritual wisdom. Its life essence is certainly not as good as the primordial spirit of the rat monster. As soon as it enters the fire, it is burned. The rat monster screams again. It is really hurt and the pain is unbearable. At noon, the rat monster's primordial spirit has been extremely weak. Lin Luoran estimates its strength and resolutely withdraws the fire cocoon. On the one hand, the meta in her body is almost consumed. On the other hand, she can always offset some grievances by taking revenge personally. As soon as the fire cocoon is withdrawn, the demons can't believe it at first. After realizing it, they rush up and tear up the weak primordial spirit of the rat monster. This white rat stealthily eats lamp oil in front of the Buddha. By chance, it is contaminated by the Buddha's light and becomes spiritual wisdom. If it cultivates diligently in the future, it may be able to achieve Buddhahood in a good environment in the spiritual world. The rat is cunning. It intended to steal the sky and converge the power of faith to become Buddha. Now its body and soul are both destroyed. There is no place for it to live anymore. As soon as the primordial spirit of the rat monster is destroyed, the power of faith it forcibly converges loses its leader and runs around. Believers and monks are both sad and confused. Thinking of the future, they are at a loss and don't know what to do. The Ramway Buddhist city is full of crying. Even the king of Hassa weeps on the throne when he hears the news. The sound of crying will spread all over the land in the next few days. Lin Luoran looks down at the civilians on the bank of the Wuxia River, who are kowtowing so hard that their heads are covered with blood. In this situation, it takes a great deal of willpower to keep one's mind. In addition to black and white, there is also a huge gray area in the world. Many things are not absolutely right or wrong. For example, the rat monster established the Hasami sect to preach to ignorant people. Whether it distorts the doctrine or not, it is its own Tao. If Lin Luoran hadn't seen thousands of demons, she would have left this star through the interstellar transmission circle. She would not have killed the rat monster at all. No matter what kind of moral standard is used, there is no such thing as using inferior creatures as stepping stones to pursue the Tao of nature in the world. Lin Luoran is not a moral gentleman, but she doesn't feel guilty at all for killing the rat monster. There are only broken walls and tiles left in the golden temple of the Buddha city. The sun is blazing and the snow on the mountains of the Buddha city slowly melts. Under the blue sky, the Wuxia River is so holy that people almost forget the sins that have been happening at the source of the holy river for thousands of years. Lin Luoran sighs. The Hasami sect has a deep root. The rat monster is dead. I'm afraid it is not so easy to clean up the mess. Master Zhixio, do you have any good advice? Zhixio nods. It is extremely difficult to purify the thousands of demons in front of us, but we don't need to force it. I wonder if lay Buddhist Lin is in the mood to listen to my karma? A senior monk of the Buddhism school will not speak without reason. Lin Luoran will certainly not refuse. Zhixio straightens the withered Bodhi tree to block the noon sun. The three of them sit on the ground beside the tree and listen to the young Buddhist monk talking about the past. During the northern and southern dynasties, Buddhism was prosperous. However, Taoism was backward in the land of Shenzhou. Zhixio was an abandoned baby in his first life. He was abandoned in front of the gate of a Buddhist temple on the outskirts of the imperial city. The monk in the temple picked him up and raised him. He naturally followed the trend and believed in Buddhism. At that time, Buddhism was prevalent. However, secular temples did not represent Buddhist cultivators. Monks in the temple only lived on the incense offerings of the secular world and the private fields of the temple. When he was a teenager, Zhixio found an incomplete ancient book in the corner of the Sutras pavilion in the temple. This book was not the scripture that monks were familiar with. It was a unique book about the holy spells of Buddhist cultivators. Zhixio grew up in the temple, so his heart was pure. He was even purer than the vegetarian food in the temple. He began to recite scriptures when he could speak. For more than 10 years, he had never been absent from the scripture classes in the morning and evening. He didn't understand the essence of scriptures, but he could read the common Buddhist scriptures. With the purest and most sincere mind, he studied the supernatural powers. Although he was still muddle-headed after practicing for a few years, it allowed him to explore the most superficial little supernatural powers such as the mind connection. In addition, his strength soared. In less than 2 years, he could carry 2 big buckets of water back and forth on the mountain path dozens of times a day without feeling tired. If it were someone else, he would have already thought about his own way out. However, Zhixio had learned the holy spells. His honest character could only make his school fellow apprentices push chores to him. He felt that he had great strength. When others tried to take advantage of him, he just smiled and didn't refuse. It seemed that he was very popular. Schoolfellow apprentices all called him a fool. A fool couldn't be as greedy as his schoolfellow apprentices. No one knew the holy spells he learned. When Emperor Taiwu of the Northern Wei dynasty ascended the throne, Buddhist temples bloomed everywhere. More and more land was taken, forcing civilians to have no land. Emperor Taiwu began to suppress the development of Buddhism and force some monks to return to secular life. Zhixio, a young novice monk, was driven down the mountain by 2 taels of silver before he could become a bhikkhu with a certificate. At that time, there were monks who returned to secular life everywhere in the country. They had no skills to make a living and no property. Many monks grew their hair, returned to secular life, married a wife, and started a career. Jishio grew up in the temple. He never thought about any other way out except to be a monk. He stumbled and wandered for a few years. He strictly followed the family rules and precepts. What a waste of his holy spells. He relied on begging alms to visit all the famous mountains in Shenzhou. When he accidentally knocked on the door of a Buddhist sect, Jishio looked pale. The senior apprentice who wanted to guide him to cultivate in Buddhism was very surprised. Jishio found a fellow Buddhist. He didn't pursue fame and fortune, so he stayed in the deep mountain with peace of mind. Every day he discussed scriptures with monks and practiced holy spells. He lived a happy life. In his first life, he died when he was 120 years old. The senior apprentice who guided him to cultivate in Buddhism believed that he was a good man. Unfortunately, he didn't understand the meaning of Buddhism in this life. He was still young and innocent until he died. The senior apprentice marked his soul with a secret spell, so that Jishio could retain the memory of his previous life even after reincarnation. In his second life, he was a woodcutter. When he was middle-aged, his family broke up and he became a monk. He didn't recover the memory of his previous life until he died. Then he wasted another life. In his third life, he was a famous scholar. In his fourth life, time flies. In his seventh life, he was born in a rich family. Because of the disease in the fetus, he was raised until he was 7 or 8 years old. His family spent a lot of money to invite famous doctors to buy medicine. Finally, he followed the advice of an old monk and was placed in a temple. Then the disease gradually recovered. At the age of 17 or 18, he converted to Buddhism despite his family's opposition. When he was in his 20s, his parents died one after another. When his widowed mother was seriously ill, she opened her eyes and asked him to return to the secular world. At that time, Jishio's memory of his previous lives had been awakened. How could he comply? After his widowed mother died, his relatives all blamed him. He scattered his family property and disappeared without a trace. In his seventh life, he was diligent. In the end, he failed to live up to his mother's wishes. In his later years, he practiced hard in the wild temple alone, but he still didn't find the real Buddha. As for the eighth life, he was the Jishio Lin Luoran met. He was born in the most turbulent and dark era of Wuxia. Compared with the previous lives, he knew his previous life in this life. This was the earliest awakening. After several lives, he felt that he seemed to realize something. He wanted to study it carefully, but his mind was still blank. In the eighth life, he was born with wisdom. Jishio found the Buddhism school he joined in his first life. The senior apprentice of the Buddhism school who accepted him had already left this world. After several lives, his Buddhism was profound and his holy spells were mysterious. Naturally, he was accepted by the Buddhism school. According to the seniority of the first life, he was already a very old senior in the Buddhism school. Naturally, his status was superior. However, he didn't really realize, so Jishio had always been a young Buddhist monk. Decades later, one day, in order to purify the evil spirits in the blood pool underground palace of Jinling, Lin Luoran knocked on the door of the secluded Buddhism school. When she saw Jishio for the first time, he was still the superior, young Buddhist monk. Jishio talked about the experience of several lives, which made people feel immersed. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan listened attentively. Jishio tilted his head and smiled. I have to thank you, lay Buddhist Lin. If it weren't for the master in the underground palace of Jinling, I would have taken a detour in several lives. Even if you read the scriptures and have holy spells, you still don't know who you are. In the end, you will be old and become a pile of bones. After the incident in Jinling, the Buddhism school reappeared in the world. When the earth was in catastrophe, I ran around and suffered. From my own life and death, I saw the suffering of the world. Then I faintly understood why my several lives of Buddhism cultivation were in vain. Buddha is also called Enlightened One. Enlightened One has 3 meanings: self-awareness, enlightenment of others, and enlightenment of actions. It is the highest fruit of Buddhism cultivation. I have experienced 7 lives in a muddled way, but I am self-aware. The barren planet in front of me is exactly the realm of enlightenment of others that I want all living beings to realize. Realize all living beings in Hasa? Not to mention fanatical believers and monks, Even thousands of resentful spirits will take a lot of effort. Lin Luoran knows that she can't do this anyway. Jixio said it casually but firmly. Lin Luoran knows that he has found his own way of cultivation. Maybe if they meet again in the future, Jixio will get rid of the identity of a young Buddhist monk. Lin Luoran is happy for Jixio. Jixio stands up and stretches his hands and feet. Lay Buddhist Lin wants to find relatives and friends. After leaving the Hasa Star, you have been heading west. Maybe you have found something. After all, my personal ability is shallow, and the effect of the all-seeing eye on you is too weak. Chapter 558. Jixio has made up his mind to take care of the mess on the Hasa Star. It is related to his accumulation of Buddhism for several lives, so Lin Luoran can't express her opinion. The strong spice smell at the source of the Luoye River still reminds people of the rat monster and its Hasami sect. Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan have decided to leave through the interstellar transmission circle. Thousands of demons are trapped on the top of the tree. They are guarding the interstellar transmission circle, and also a kind of protection. Jixio opens up a passage among the demons for Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan. He checks the magic circle and finds it is not damaged. It is a blessing in misfortune. Lin Luoran knows nothing about the second-rate spiritual world. Jixio was chased by Inshan School all the way to the Hasa Star. The teleportation location is random, and there are no coordinates. After entering the transmission circle, Mu Tianan reminds her that she still has the Jade Stairs Star Atlas. She takes it out and looks at it. There is a bright red dot on the back of the second step. Is it the Hasa Star where they are? Lin Luoran remembers that Jixio said that she may get something if she keeps heading west after leaving the Hasa Star. She tries to use her spiritual mind to connect the Hasa Star on the Star Atlas with the nearest star point in the west. As soon as the thin white line is connected, the interstellar transmission circle with spirit stones shines and runs automatically. Before saying goodbye to Jixio, Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan disappear in the light curtain of the transmission circle. This time, they are teleported to two neighboring planets. The time is much shorter than when Xi and Yuanping plotted against them from the Tiankue star to the Hasa Star. The uncomfortable teleportation process passes quickly. Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan walk out of the transmission circle. They find that the transmission circle is built in a quiet stone hall. They push the door open and walk out. They see a very lively market. People of the same race and skin color live in rows of houses. The ground is paved with blue bricks. Men, women, and children dressed in Wuxia costumes walk among them. They ignore the two people who walk out of the stone house. There are all kinds of people selling figure charms, training qi, and restaurants in a foreign land. People from all walks of life feel that they have traveled through time and space. The only difference between this market and ordinary ones is that the pedestrians and roadside shops are all cultivators. Among them, training qi and laying foundation cultivators are the most common ones. Bearing essence cultivators are all in a hurry. As for gathering vitality cultivators, they are even more elusive. Lin Luoran is very sensitive that the low-level cultivators are not turning a blind eye to the two people coming out of the transmission circle. Most of them are secretly looking at them. Some of them are eager to come up and talk to them. However, Brother Mu's face is cold. They all feel the pressure around them and hesitate for a while. Mu Tianan has lived for hundreds of years, and he has seen many things. He wants to know the local situation as soon, so he suggests that they should go to a restaurant. Looking at the two of them walking side by side into the nearest restaurant, the few people who were eager to try were all vexed. The talisman seller complained about the pill seller's cowardice. The latter was not convinced and muttered in a low voice. Who knows if it's a rich man or a senior with a weird temper this time? Zhuqi, you're brave. Do you want to try the restaurant again? Zhuqi looks up and sees Lin Luoran and Mu Tianan sitting by the window on the third floor. Zhuqi, you are brave. Do you want to go to the restaurant again? The market is not small, and there are many cultivators selling things. It is really difficult to do business. Zhuqi looks up and sees Lin Luoran and Lin Luoran sitting by the window on the third floor. They are not avoiding people, and it is not private. He can have a try. The market is not small, and there are many cultivators selling things. It is really difficult to do business. Zhu Qi looks up and sees Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan sitting by the window on the third floor. It is not a place to hide from people, and it is not private. He can have a try. After a while, the cultivators who want to compete with him leave. Zhu Qi rolls his eyes and only bows to Mu Tiannan. Mu Tiannan and Lin Luoran have naturally noticed that the little cultivator downstairs is paying attention to them. They don't really want to taste the local food by the window. Mu Tiannan sees that the man's eyes are lively, but he doesn't look at Lin Luoran. Mu Tiannan nods at him and asks him to come up. Zhu Qi has been in the market for a long time. If he gets a chance to talk to Mu Tiannan, he may make two big deals. Seeing that Mu Tiannan agrees, Zhu Qi leaves his stall and goes to the restaurant. Seeing this, the few cultivators who wanted to do business with Zhu Qi beat their chests and stomped their feet. Lin Luoran orders spirit wine and puts it on the table. The taste is very memorable. The Reiki of the wine is not as good as the fruit wine Lin Luoran made herself. With their personal ability, they don't care about all kinds of spirit wine, fruits and vegetables in the restaurant. However, Zhu Qi is different. The mellow smell of wine and the delicate aroma of spirit fruit on the table lingered in his nose, making Zhu Qi feel refreshed as soon as he entered the private room on the third floor. Zhu Qi had a flattering smile on his face. He looked like he was in his 30s. He was neither a monk nor a Taoist. He looked like a rogue cultivator who made a living in the market. In fact, Mu Tiannan had asked the waiter of the restaurant about the general situation of the Lanhu Star before. He also occupied a high position with a panoramic view of the market to collect information. It was Lin Luoran who told him that the middle-aged man downstairs kept winking at him. Even cultivators are divided into levels. Ordinary people probably know the situation of this star very well. Zhu Qi saluted the two again. Mu Tiannan gestured for him to sit down and talk in detail. The waiter of the restaurant refills Zhu Qi's glass. He closes the door and goes out. There are only 3 people left in the private room. Being glanced at by Lin Luoran, Zhu Qi, who is experienced and knowledgeable, suddenly can't help but be nervous. Lin Luoran slows down her tone. We just came here and know very little about the Lanhu Star. We just want to talk to you about the local customs. You don't have to be nervous. Zhu Qi smiles awkwardly. Lin and Mu Tiannan come out of the transmission circle. They don't have any school symbol on them. The cultivators who were eager to sell them thought they were gathering vitality cultivators who could travel alone on their own, so they didn't dare to act rashly. However, looking at their expressions, they don't have the arrogance that high-level cultivators usually have. Zhu Qi thinks maybe they are really 2 disciples of famous schools who don't want to reveal their identities. It should be known that cultivators below the gathering vitality period must have a magic weapon to protect themselves if they want to use the interstellar transmission circle. Besides, the interstellar transmission circle consumes a lot of spirit stones, not to mention small local individual cultivators like them. The transmission circle flashes with white light. Spirit stones are all burned. I don't know what kind of information you 2 seniors want to know. I will tell you everything I know. He is very uncomfortable sitting in the chair. The attitude of the 2 people on the opposite side is obviously very kind. However, Zhu Qi has an intuition that he is really wrong this time. He mistakenly regards high-level cultivators as fat sheep, who rely on their masters to travel interstellar. For example, what schools are there on the Lanhu Star? Mu Tiannan's slender knuckles tap on the table. He looks elegant and comfortable, which makes Zhu Qi feel relieved. He sorts out what he knows in his mind and speaks only when he is 70% sure. It turns out that the Lanhu Star, adjacent to the Hassa Star, is a small famous planet in the second-rate spiritual world. About 75% of the surface of this star is land, and it is inhabited by dangerous terrain. It is not easy for mortals to live here. However, the barren land environment is very suitable for hiding various monsters. Monsters are troublesome, but they also represent wealth in the eyes of cultivators. Thousands of years ago, when the Lanhu Star was included in the star atlas of the world of cultivation for the first time, the land was divided up by many big schools. The transmission circle is built in such a market with many low-rank cultivators, because the big schools don't trust each other. They deliberately choose such a desolate area in the mortal world of the Lanhu star to build the interstellar transmission circle. They agree that no school can touch the transmission circle. The Lanhu star is rich in monsters, which is also a special resource for cultivation. Refining weapons, making elixirs, drawing figures, and many other aspects of cultivation are inseparable from the materials of monsters. As soon as the transmission circle of the Lanhu star is built, many cultivators come and go to this star. It is very lively. For some years, the interstellar transmission circle that was originally built in the desolate place gradually becomes a big city. I heard from some seniors that the Lanhu star used to be very famous in the entire world of cultivation. However, the reputation of being rich in monsters is old news. After thousands of years, no matter how many monsters there are, they can't be killed. Now the monsters left in the dangerous place are either small low-rank monsters that the big schools don't care about or big monsters that even the schools don't dare to eat. Monsters are not leeks in the field. They can grow again soon after being cut. There are no other mineral deposits in the Lanhu star. The excitement soon passes. The influence of the world of cultivation on this star is more than that. This star has seen the wonders of personal ability enhancement. How can it be willing to go back to the ignorant state? Local individual cultivators like Wuxia dream of joining the big schools, hoping to finally leave the Lanhu star, which is getting more and more difficult. That is to say, the Lanhu star is the same as the Tiankui star. They are both semi-abandoned planets by the standards of the world of cultivation. Should they continue to go west to the next star? Lin Luoran thinks for a while, and still doesn't give up. She asks, "Do you know the detailed division of forces in the Lanhu star?" It is not a secret that the schools divide the Lanhu star. Wuxia divides the Lanhu star into north, south, east, and west. He sorts out the schools that have branches on the Lanhu star today. Lin and Mu know very little about the world of cultivation. They have only contacted Inshan School. The name of the school mentioned by Wuxia is very strange to them. Wuxia is indeed a good guide. His words are clear. After his narration, Lin Luoran immediately catches the missing inspiration in her mind. What about the West? Is the West completely blank? Wuxia is stunned and then smiles. Senior cultivator, you don't know this. The rivers of the Lanhu star all converge to the west. The far west is the sea area that occupies 20% of the Lanhu star's area. Mu Tiannan takes back his right hand that has been on the table. There are always monsters of the water in the sea. Such a big piece of cake won't just be let go like this. Wuxia shakes his head. It is said that there is an isolated island in the far west sea, which is the sphere of influence of Prophet God School. However, Prophet God School never competes with other schools. West Sea is given to Prophet God School, but they never kill monsters of the water. Therefore, cultivators of the Lanhu star rarely mention this school. However, since you asked, I remember that a group of people came out of the transmission circle half a month ago. They left the city and went west. Lin Luoran's eyes are slightly bright. Are they people of Prophet God School? Wuxia smiles. Prophet God School is very mysterious in the world of cultivation. I am not sure because of my limited knowledge. Wuxia didn't know much about the Celestial Arcanum sect. It should be said that the entire cultivation world kept a distance from this sect that was said to be able to predict the future. Naturally, there was very little news about the Celestial Arcanum sect. Lin Luoran is extremely moved by the word, can predict the destiny. She faintly believes that Jixio's parting words are about this. Mu Tiannan has the same opinion as her. A group of people went west half a month ago. The timing is too coincidental. Wuxia goes down the restaurant dizzily. The cultivator who sold elixirs before comes to ask if he made a small fortune. He deceives him. However, thinking of the spirit stones in the storage bag, Wuxia's heart is boiling. As for the low-key Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan, they have already left quietly to the west. 1 month later, on the edge of the west sea of the Lanhu star, Brother Mu and Lin Luoran, who have both arms intact, stand side by side on the beach. The blue tide is chasing one another. The sea breeze blows. He feels a little weird that a new left hand has grown out of his broken arm. Along the way to the west, they have met several ignorant monsters. However, this is not the reason why Mu Tiannan decides to use the dragon marrow to regrow his arm. Beautiful women are common in the world of cultivation, but ugly cultivators are hard to find. Even if they are physically disabled, cultivators will try their best to solve it. Mu Tiannan can obviously cure his broken arm, but he doesn't care about it. It really goes against the mainstream aesthetic. Walking side by side with Lin Luoran, Mu Tiannan, who has lost his left arm, attracts a lot of attention. Brother Mu really can't stand those ambiguous eyes, so he simply treats his broken arm on the way to the west. Lin Luoran has a bone boat to cross the sea. However, the sea is vast. There are so many monsters of the water in the deep sea that Lin Luoran has no time to waste on them. Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan are certainly not standing on the beach for a romantic walk. The holy spell Listen comes in handy at this time. She is trying to communicate with the monsters of the water to ask for directions. Monsters have keen senses. Lin Luoran doesn't want to kill them. Besides, there is a big monster standing beside her. Ordinary small monsters don't dare to act rashly. Lin Luoran really gets the information she wants. According to the monster, there is indeed an isolated island facing the water in the middle of the West Sea. The island will appear in the starry night, and there are traces of human cultivators on the island. On weekdays, the island is covered by magic circles. It looks like an ordinary sea. The monsters of the water who stray into the maze have more or less suffered. More importantly, not long ago, a group of cultivators crossed the sea to the island. Whether it is the Prophet God School, mentioned by Lin Luoran, is not within the scope of the monster's concern. They don't know anything about it. When Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan fly away with the wind, the small monster is so confused that it easily tells the truth to the human cultivators. Lin Luoran is the true god in charge of a water area. She has a natural affinity for aquatic creatures, but the small monster of the water doesn't know it. The island will appear in the starry night. There are many examples of astrology and divination in Wuxia legends. Lin Luoran has seen the unusual celestial phenomenon when the secret land of Bermuda opens. In addition, the high priest of ancient Babylon can subdue the fake saintess with star power alone. Lin Luoran doesn't dare to look down upon the Prophet God School just because of her powerful strength. The Prophet God School can make so many forces in the world of cultivation fear it. Compared with all kinds of difficult monsters they have met on the way in the past month, the monsters of the water in the West Sea are really gentle. When Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan determine the location of the island without any danger, they are still a little unsure. I'm really born to be busy. Things are so smooth that I can't get used to it. Lin Luoran whispers. Mu Tiannan's smile is obvious. The star atlas has been in Lin Luoran's hands for so many years. Lin Luoran has some experience in magic circles. The maze circle can fool the monsters of the water, but it can't fool her. We can't stop in the air and wait for a good night to come, can we? Lin Luoran glances at Mu Tiannan. She takes out a piece of paper and quickly folds a small paper crane. After concealing its breath, she releases it. Seeing that the small paper crane suddenly disappears in the middle of the flight, Lin Luoran feels a little sorry. If the second-rate spiritual world is not so big, it is possible to find people with paper cranes. Mu Tiannan doesn't answer. The second-rate spiritual world is not the earth that they can control alone. It is very easy for them to find people with paper cranes as long as the other person's personal ability is similar to that of the person who folded the paper crane. Lin Luoran uses the paper crane as a greeting card and gets a response in less than half an hour. First, the sea in front of them is undulating, and at the same time, there is a thick fog on the sea. After the wind and waves roar, the fog dissipates, and a beautiful island appears in front of them. A few beautiful and well-dressed young women appeared in the air on their flying magic tools. They smiled at the two of them and said, "Come on, let's go." Big School Brother made a divination yesterday and said that there is a distinguished guest coming. It's all our fault for being so slow and keeping two seniors waiting for so long. Plum blossoms, orchid, bamboo, chrysanthemum. These women are all beautiful. What's more, they are all gathering vitality cultivators. They respectfully call Lin and Mu Tiannan seniors, which is very polite. They say Big School Brother made a divination yesterday and said that there is a distinguished guest coming. But they are still hiding on the island. Lin Luoran just pretends not to hear the contradiction. In the stronghold of Prophet God School on the Lanhu Star, which has been declining for a long time, there are actually several gathering vitality female cultivators who can be ushers at will. Lin Luoran thinks about it, but she only says sorry to disturb you. She is not timid at all. She and Mu Tiannan set foot on the island calmly. Under the magic circle, the island is like spring all year round. The breeze is gentle. The cobblestone path winds all the way to the depths of the island. There is a Taoist temple in the depths of the dense forest. Lin Luoran has a strange sense of familiarity with it. It is not a long way, but several female cultivators have been chattering nonstop. They keep talking about Big School Brother. Mu Tiannan really wants to grab them one by one and throw them into the sea. Lin Luoran can see that they are not pretending. She is curious about the Big School Brother they are talking about. She is even more curious about Prophet God School, which raises a group of naive and ignorant female cultivators. Finally, the cobblestone path came to an end. What was left was a bluestone staircase that led upward. Several female cultivators grinned and said, "We'll see you off here. Eldest brother will be waiting for you in the temple." After that, they push each other and run away like a gust of wind, leaving Lin Luoran and Mu Tiannan looking at each other. Neither of them is timid. Seeing that they want to be mysterious, they also go with the flow and slowly climb up the stone steps. The terrain is not high. The winding stone steps on the hill are more like an embellishment for people to better appreciate the beautiful scenery. Walking on the stone road in the forest can relax people. Soon they reach the highest point. A big crooked pine tree covers most of the red lacquer gate. There is a large open space in front of the temple. There are stone stools and tables under the shade of the tree. A little Taoist boy is sweeping the fallen leaves. Seeing strangers coming, he is a little shy. He puts one hand on his chest and walks forward in Taoist etiquette. Lin Luoran follows the little Taoist boy inside. She walks slower and slower. Mu Tiannan sees that she is calm and asks in a low voice, "What's wrong?" Lin Luoran says with a faint smile, "This is Qing. School sister Lin, how are you?" A Taoist in cyan in front of the arch asks. At that moment, Lin Luoran only feels that something explodes in her mind. Chapter 559. Many years ago, a baby-faced and childish Taoist knocked on the door of Qingqing Villa and called her sister Lin. He was not her junior fellow apprentice. It was just that there was a lively forum in the Wuxia cultivation world called Cultivators Tribe. A group of young cultivators in Wuxia called her senior sister Lin. Later, when she laid foundation in Jinling, Sister Lin became Uncle Lin. Her seniority rose, and few young cultivators dared to play with her. Taoist Huizhu, the Taoist of Qingqing Taoist Temple, was nice to Lin at first. If Xian Yuanping had not been involved, Lin and Qingqing Taoist Temple would not have been so embarrassed. Huizhu chose to live in seclusion for 100 years with the disciples of Qingqing Taoist Temple, as an explanation to the world of cultivation in Wuxia. Since then, Lin has never seen the serious-looking old Taoist. To be honest, Lin Luoran doesn't understand why the old Taoist Huizhu kicked Lin out of the Qingqing Taoist Temple. Hundreds of years have passed. Lin vaguely remembers that Lin was quite close to the Lin family before the relationship with Qingqing Taoist Temple became bad. He was a very simple young man who loved cooking. When the old site of Qingqing Taoist Temple collapsed, the crazy Taoist set up the Yinyang Moat Circle to save Baojia. When she returned to modern civilization from Spirit Mountain, the top of Qingqing Taoist Temple was flattened. There was only a pile of broken bricks and rubble on the old site of Qingqing Taoist Temple. The messy Mount Qingqing also became a nest of mutant monsters. At this time, the bricks and tiles of the house in front of her are inexplicably familiar. After the Taoist in indigo appears, Lin suddenly realizes that this house is built according to the old appearance of Qingqing Taoist Temple. The Taoist in cyan in front of the arch asks, How are you, school sister Lin? Because hundreds of years have passed, Lin Luoran feels nothing but shock when she meets an old friend again, no matter whether it is kindness or hatred. You are now a great cultivator of gathering vitality. You can stop calling me Sister Lin. The childishness on the baby's face had long since disappeared. His thin cheeks revealed the unique sharpness of a young man. His temperament had also changed greatly. The young man who used to be full of the mortal world was now wearing a green Taoist robe. But he had a sense of transcendence. There is a scar like a crescent moon at the end of Anne's left eyebrow, which ruins his perfect appearance. The simple little Taoist who grew up in the mountains had transformed into a noble young master. The difference was so great that the excitement of reuniting with an old friend was greatly diluted. Seeing and smiling, Lin Luoran asks, "Are you the first school brother they are talking about?" The big school brother of Qingqing Taoist Temple can't stay in the territory of Prophet God School. And is now a disciple of Prophet God School, but he lives in the same house as Qingqing Taoist Temple. Seeing his attitude after drinking tea, Lin Luoran knows that he misses the past very much, and drives away the unfamiliarity after the reunion. Lin Luoran has no intention of making friends with him, but she also doesn't like the feeling that things are completely out of her control. Although the scented tea was the same, the three of them tasted different flavors. Mu Tiannan has been very low-key since he entered the temple. There is a Qingqing Taoist temple, hidden on an isolated island in the West Sea area of the Prophet God School's sphere of influence on the Lanhu star. He also pretends to wait for them to come to him. He is very unhappy with the Prophet God School's behavior at this moment, and seems to have just remembered. He puts down the teacup and says to Mu Tiannan, "I almost forget to congratulate you on your personal ability. If Master Mu knows it, he must be very pleased." Mu Tiannan stares at him for a long time as if he wants to see a flower on Anne's face. He asks with a straight face, "You mean that you not only know the whereabouts of the Lin family, but also know my grandpa?" His tone is full of sarcasm. The third brother is not good at beating around the bush and making conspiracies. Even if he drinks jasmine tea, he still asks this question. Mu Tiannan doesn't like Prophet God School's attitude of "I know everything in the world, but I won't say it." He simply points out the topic directly. Lin and Mu have a tacit understanding of each other for hundreds of years. One plays the good cop while the other plays the bad cop. Mu Tiannan's face is too tight, so she loosens the topic. "Fellow cultivator, and why don't I see other cultivators in such a big Taoist temple? Where is Huizhu? Even if Xian Yuanping is not here, there are more than a few people who left the earth in Qingqing Taoist Temple." Lin Luoran's original intention is to change the topic. However, as soon as she says this, and who has been smiling under Mu Tiannan's unfriendly attitude, suddenly changes his face. Confusion, pain, self-blame, and nostalgia, several emotions flash in Anne's eyes. After defeating the ethereal charm of the first apprentice of Prophet God School, Anne is like an exiled immortal who finally falls down from the clouds. "You are from Qingqing Taoist Temple? Well, school sister Lin, you have been friends with Qingqing Taoist Temple for a long time. The master of the temple used to speak highly of you. Come with me," and holds his forehead with his hand. His fingers tremble slightly when they sweep over the crescent-shaped scar at the end of his eyebrow. The meta in the body of a cultivator of the level of gathering vitality is combing the meridians and nourishing the cells all the time. Even a broken limb can be regrown, let alone a small scar on the face, unless the owner of the body voluntarily leaves it behind. The shelter of gods was opened, and we also came to the real world of cultivation as we wished. The only mistake was that all schools and countries were wary of each other during the transmission, and did not hold hands with each other. The cultivators who were transmitted away from the earth after opening the shelter of gods didn't have Star Atlas. There were various forces among them. After the crisis was over, they didn't have a good relationship with each other to be transmitted together. Therefore, after arriving at the second-rate spiritual world on the other side of the Tower of Babel, the cultivators who were transmitted from the earth were scattered on various planets in the world of cultivation. Some of them were lucky enough to find the school, where they had migrated before. There were also some unlucky young cultivators who misjudged the cruelty of the real world of cultivation. If they did something wrong, they would be killed by high-level cultivators. However, among these cultivators, the most eye-catching ones were the 5 geniuses with single Taoist root who gathered the 5 elements. The news was leaked by a young cultivator, who came with them. Even in the peaceful world of cultivation of Wuxia, many people wanted to get Luodong, who had single Taoist root of the earth, when Lin Luoran was trapped in the underground palace of Jinling. In such a big world of cultivation, geniuses with single Taoist root would be born every 100 years. However, it was difficult to gather 5 cultivators with single Taoist root of the 5 elements at the same time. There was a prophecy on the earth that the single Taoist root of the 5 elements could lead earth cultivators to a fertile land for personal ability enhancement, and was the hope of the world of cultivation. Of course, there was a similar saying in the second-rate spiritual world. There was a saying among the ancient forces that the pure and flawless power of the 5 elements could eliminate the ancient barriers. It was the power to break through the world. Above the world of cultivation, there was the spiritual world and the immortal world. Cultivators who pursued the Tao of nature were also greedy. As long as there was someone who could move them, they would be greedy. Cultivators who had the ability to fly in the sky and the earth could cause more damage than the emperors in the mortal world who had heavy weapons. Especially the 5 cultivators with single Taoist root from the earth. Their personal ability was almost the same. What a perfect balance of the 5 elements. Some big schools wanted to take all 5 of them in, which aroused public anger. Finally, after constant fighting and compromises, and then the other 4 had different situations. Of course, the small Qingqing Taoist temple couldn't protect it. It could just hide when it realized the danger. However, Qingqing Taoist temple, which was already at a disadvantage, had Xian Yuanping. At that time, Xian Yuanping had already colluded with Yinshan school. After plotting against Jixio, the single Taoist root of the 5 elements was basically a tacit understanding in the world of cultivation. Huizhu judged that the situation was not right, and hid with the people of Qingqing Taoist temple. Xian Yuanping came to them with the unique contact method of Qingqing Taoist temple. A few days later, Yinshan school arrived. Except for An and Xian Yuanping, no one in Qingqing Taoist temple survived. In fact, before the master died, he guessed that it was school sister Xian who leaked the news. Otherwise, he would not have forced me to make the devil inside oath that I would never hurt school sister Xian in this life. For Xian Yuanping, the old Taoist Huizhu felt guilty for torturing him for most of his life. However, before he died, he still forced him to make the devil inside oath, even though he knew that he had wronged many dead disciples of Qingqing Taoist temple. Considering An's love for him, he would definitely break the oath. Huizhu did everything on his own accord. Even if An didn't kill Xian Yuanping, the latter killed Huizhu and his peers of Qingqing Taoist temple. The honest man who had nothing to worry about in the world was forced to a dead end. Therefore, he made a stronger counterattack. On the surface, he complied with the solicitation of Yinshan school. However, he secretly kept destroying the relationship between Xian Yuanping and Yinshan school. When the rift between Xian Yuanping and Yinshan school couldn't be reconciled, An escaped from Yinshan school and joined the most mysterious prophet god school in the world of cultivation. He became the principal apprentice of the schoolmaster. Singlewood Taoist root turned out to be not only talented in making magic figures. Once An became serious, his potential could even amaze prophet god school. However, Xian Yuanping was troubled by An. Even though she had personal ability enhancement to the period of gathering vitality, Yinshan school only recognized her as a guest. An's real talent was actually in divination, astrology, and divination, which no one in the world of cultivation on the earth had ever set foot in. Of course, the oracle sect was not the same as the geomancers on earth. Take the divination of fate as an example. Ordinary geomancers with real ability could see the fate of ordinary people, and even help them change some of their luck. The oracle sect's astrology and divination targets ranged from the cultivators who cultivated against the natural order to the fate of the sect, and even the rise and fall of the cultivation world. It was said that when the divination ability reached the extreme, It could be as high as the blue sky and as low as the yellow springs and the nine nether. It was said that when the divination ability reached the extreme, it could truly change one's fate. Anne's talent in divination soon made him the most valued first apprentice of the schoolmaster. The hope of Prophet God's school for him was no longer the vague idea of possessing the power of the world. He was trained as the pillar of the school. The schoolmaster is really generous to me. Although I promised Grandmaster that I would not hurt school sister Xin. She would die sooner or later. As long as the result is the same, the process doesn't matter. Anne's smile was like a spring breeze, but Lin Luoran felt cold in her heart. The person in front of her was no longer the shy boy with a baby face. The fried tofu he made was still delicious. However, once a simple person had hatred in his heart, he couldn't go back to the beginning. You said that Xin Yuanping would die. What did you do? And tilted his head and looked at the direction of the altar in the hall. His face was unclear in the smoke. I just told some people the truth. When school sister Lin teleported from the earth, she would appear in the Tiankui star. School sister Lin, didn't you meet school brother Wen Guanjing in the Tiankui star? And changed the topic and mentioned Wen Guanjing again. Mu Tiannan frowned so hard that he could kill a fly. Anne's thinking was too fast and his mental state was somewhat abnormal. Why did he suddenly mention Wen Guanjing? Lin Luoran motioned for him to continue. Oh, it may be more appropriate to call him schoolmaster when we meet again. And said enviously, only one Taoist root of the 5 elements. Some people had their school exterminated like me, and some people had extraordinary luck like school brother one. It was very enviable in the cultivation world to be praised by Shaoan as having good luck. However, after when Guanjing left the earth he was really lucky. There was no school called Zhu Mountain in the world of cultivation. However, there was a school with deep roots called Sword School. Sword School did not recruit disciples to expand its territory like other schools. It only recruited swordsmen. The quality of the disciples was more important than the quantity. With flying swords, they were the most powerful human-shaped swords. Especially more than 1,000 years ago, more than 800 swordsmen suddenly appeared in the world of cultivation. They were not the most powerful, but they could work together. Sword School took the initiative to recruit these cultivators. At that time, not many people knew that these swordsmen who suddenly appeared all came from a school called Zhu Mountain on the earth. Yi Zhao was called Mr. Carefree because of his amazing performance. Not to mention his talent in swordsmanship. Under his leadership for many years, the team of more than 800 people became an irresistible sharp sword. It was unprecedented in the world of cultivation. 800 swordsmen could work together. However, after more than 100 years, these swordsmen grew up, and they certainly had the final say in sword school. The sword sect was slowly branded with the brand of Shushan. Even though the previous batch of Shushan sword cultivators ascended and perished, over 1,000 years had passed. Other than the name, the sword sect was just another Shushan sect. When Guanjing appeared with the dual identity of single Taoist root of the fire, and the successor of Zhu Mountain, no force dared to make trouble. When Guanjing took the cultivators of Zhu Mountain with him and joined sword school smoothly. 30 years ago, he officially took over the position of the schoolmaster. Suddenly, and said that he didn't retaliate against Xin Yuanping. He just deduced that Lin Luoran would appear in the Tiankui star and release the news. Compared with more than 400 years ago, Lin Luoran was alone, but she had the most balanced and perfect Taoist root of the 5 elements. Xin Yuanping knew it, Yinshan School knew it, and many big schools including Sword School knew it. However, no one knew Lin Luoran's strength, and took advantage of this. Not only did he let Xin Yuanping take the initiative to go to the Tiankui star and expose herself to Lin Luoran, but Sword School led by Wen Guanjing wanted to save Lin Luoran. In the end, Yinshan School, which once slaughtered all the people of Qingqing Taoist Temple, was defeated. The school almost suffered a great loss. Xin Yuanping, a traitor of Qingqing Taoist Temple, took the initiative to provoke Lin Luoran again. Look, senior sister Lin, I remember my promise to the Abbey Dean very clearly, and said with nostalgia when he called school sister Lin. Compared with the biological daughter of the Abbey Dean, the so-called school sister Xian, he really hoped that his school sister was the person in front of him. She was a female cultivator who could make any school proud, no matter in terms of aptitude or character. Why didn't she belong to Qingqing Taoist Temple? School sister Lin, do you still want to ask about the whereabouts of your family? Lin Luoran was silent. An Anwen Guanjing's totally different situation scared her. The Lin family had 2 cultivators with single Taoist root of the 5 elements. If the family was destroyed, would they survive? In the strange silence, Taoist boy Mingyue pushed the door and came in. Master, school uncle is here. And nodded. I see. Go back to your room. No matter what you hear later, don't come out, okay? Mingyue scratched his head and left obediently. Lin Luoran felt that Mingyue was very similar to An in the past. He was a quiet and simple little Taoist. Mu Tiannin looked at the direction of the gate and sneered. Since Qingqing Taoist Temple was dead, the person Mingyue called school uncle couldn't be from Prophet God School. Surrounded by several beautiful nuns, Xian Yuanping turned around the arch. When she saw the person standing in the yard, the smile on her face froze at first, and then she smiled very charmingly. School brethren. No wonder school brother and asked her to come to Lanhu Star. It turns out that he knew that Hasa Star couldn't trap Lin Luoran. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.